Give me big old buckets of butterbeer. Give me big old barrels of butterbeer. Give me the drink I love so dear. And another round for my friend right here of the sweet old butterbeer.
Welcome to the Three Broomsticks. We invite you to pull up a chair, grab a butterbeer, and settle in for a hearty discussion about Harry Potter. I'm Aurelia Lieb.
I'm Sam Williams.
I'm Sierra Obermer.
And this is the return of a very special guest. We taught for 5 years together. She was great the last time we had her, so we brought her back. Welcome to Elizabeth Wade Stickle. Hello, Liz.
Hello.
Welcome back!
Thanks.
Woohoo!
For our listeners, new or old, please remind us your Hogwarts house, your journey to Potter, your favorite book, and the fact that we have the exact same favorite character.
Deal. So my Hogwarts house is Ravenclaw. I'm very wise. My journey to Potter was very non-linear. I read the third book first because the first two movies had already come out, and I was in third grade. I was like,
this all sounds logical. I'm just saying.
Yeah, no, I know it.
See, versus I started with the third book first as well, with no prior knowledge to any of it.
Thank you.
I hate every one of you. It's fine.
That's like me starting. That's like me starting in the middle of game franchises. That's apparently a thing with me.
Yep. What do you mean Dragon Age Inquisition has 2 prequels?
What do you mean Black Flag is number 4?
Anyways, sorry, Liz. You had a non-linear thing.
I had seen the first 2 movies, so I was like, okay, check. And read Prisoner of Azkaban. Then it wasn't until the 6th book came out that I was like, oh yeah, those books. And back in, caught up. And then read the 7th one in its appropriate place.
Nice, well done. Of all the books to have just watched the movies for, books 1 and 2 are pretty excellent.
Yeah, and I did go back. I did read them while I was waiting for the 7th book to come out. So I have read all of them, but the first time reading each of them was not something Sam likes. My favorite book, I think is really truly tied between Prisoner of Azkaban and Half-Blood Prince. Half-Blood Prince because one, it's excellent, but 2, because it's so emo. It's such a goth little book. I've always been a big fan of the villain backstories. So that really, really scratches that itch. And then Prisoner of Azkaban, also excellent. But also then the nostalgia factor of it being the first one I actually sat down and read. And then my favorite character in that vein, Sirius Black. Oh my goodness. He just makes my heart explode whenever he writes a cute little letter to Harry. Love Sirius Black.
Thank you.
He is awesome.
He's just the best. And I don't care who knows it.
I am not ashamed.
His little doggy self. All right, so here's a good question. Would you prefer Sirius as your godfather or as your dog?
Ooh. If he still looks like Gary Oldman, godfather.
I really thought you were going the opposite direction. I thought you were going to be like, well, he looks like Gary Oldman, the dog.
No, I adore Gary Oldman. I love Gary Oldman. So if Gary Oldman could be my godfather, hell yeah, brother. But if what if he's just like a 2-dimensional illustration?
No. One of my favorite.
I also I feel like I wouldn't do. I know better how to support the care of the human. I have never had a dog. So for his own well-being, also godfather.
Good to know. One of my favorite
Well,
Gary Oldman
human
stories.
Godfather. He doesn't see the title as a dog, I think.
God, he's the Podfather. The
dog
Podfather.
father.
Dog.
It's right there.
It's right there.
Scratch that from the podcast. I don't want anybody knowing how stupid I was. Brittany, don't screw me over. I don't know. I don't know why I looked up to the sky as if Brittany is God, but
Isn't she?
Well, in this instance, she sort of is.
Oh man. One of my favorite Gary Oldman stories from Flick, who was Emma Watson's body double in the first 3 movies, is that it's the 3rd movie. Gary Oldman's in it, and book 5 had just come out, and she's like, I don't know, 8 chapters away from the end. They're like just about to go to the Ministry of Magic, and everybody knows there's this enormous death, right? That's happening. That was teased. And Gary Oldman comes into the to the dressing room or the makeup room where everyone's getting makeup put on and goes, "It's me! She killed off me!" And so Flick had the book ruined for her.
I think the best part about it is
that.
that there's a pre-story to where Gary Oldman didn't know someone was going to die.
Yeah.
And found out because other people were talking about it. Well, there's a big death in this one. And he's like, oh, okay. And that's why he then walked in so dramatically, because he had only learned that there was a big deal about this character death
30 seconds ago and then realized it's him.
Yeah.
Unfortunate. I wish that we all had that exact memory. It's cool. When they make the technology to share minds, I'll get it.
There you go.
Deal.
Today, for episode number 60, can't even believe it, 60, we have gathered to discuss plot holes in the Harry Potter series. This topic was suggested by Adam James.
Thank you, Adam.
So thank you very much. We are pretty excited about this one. I think this has been a topic of conversation in general, in the fandom, and I think hopefully we'll have some answers, and if we don't have any answers, then we'll just rant about how we don't have answers.
Yeah, for real.
And that's always good audio, right?
It's so great. And also, listeners, don't forget, for an extra $20,000 on Patreon, you can order our 60th anniversary diamond-encrusted rings for just $20,000 for
You're playing
60.
fast and loose with the word anniversary.
Yeah, we've been doing this for 60 years, didn't you know?
60 years, baby.
Sometimes I feel like we were.
This
Amazing.
podcast fog of war.
But to our real patrons, we want to thank you for actually giving us real money for real things that we can actually offer you in return. So a huge thanks to Caroline Oberländer over on our Patreon, who bought us this round of drinks at the pub today.
Yay! Thank you.
Yay!
And yay, we had Aurelia on, and she could say your name right.
I try, but it's just not the same.
Sometimes it helps. And if you'd like to buy us around at the pub, head over to patreon.com/3broomsticks with the numeral 3 to sign up. We're offering bonus content, chats with the host, and on-episode shoutouts, as you just heard. And we have recently added another element to the party planning series that Irvin has started. Just to say Irvin and Sophia. So if you want to plan your next Harry Potter party and you need advice, I have to say those two are absolute experts. So give that a listen. That is actually quite good content. Also, yes, you can imagine, halfway through one of those 2 episodes that they did, they started planning the next party. So, you know.
Nice.
as you would imagine.
Incredible.
And there's always some Quidditch nerdy sport content between Sam and me going on. So if you want funny, hilarious sports stories, then
Where the Americans win. Yes, the Americans win.
I'm still not over that. Sam was like, yeah. And then I'll just, this is the final number. So I was like, okay. Am I seeing this correctly? Don't worry about it.
Yes, but also don't think about it too hard.
But we would really appreciate your help in keeping the lights on at the Three Broomsticks so we can talk about Harry Potter for a long time to come. And that lends us, now that we all have nice drinks from Carolina. Thank you so much again. So we want to offer a toast to the comments on episode 56. That episode was about safety and security at Hogwarts. The episode I unfortunately had to miss last minute. But we raise our glass to commenter Books and Magic, who said, maybe Dumbledore allowed Sirius to flew in after Prisoner of Azkaban just so Harry could have a safe way to talk to him. Or maybe parents have a special exemption to access Hogwarts via the Flu network, but just with their head. And Dumbledore registered Sirius as Harry's parent for the wards. I imagine parents would want to have a way other than letters to communicate with their children, especially since they don't see them for months at a time.
Yeah. Wow. It is crazy how much Sirius was just able to like pop his head in the fire into what is essentially a dormitory of minors. I do like the idea that Harry, that Sirius and Dumbledore were communicating via something other than letters. Maybe Dumbledore's using his little Patronus trick, and Sirius learns how to do it and gets permission. That would be cool. Otherwise, I would still be uncomfortable even if it was parents have access via the Flu network to go straight to the common room. That seems ludicrous.
Yeah, to go to like a professor's office, maybe like
Sure.
on a schedule. That sounds fine. Like, oh, hey, you've got a phone. Like, essentially, like, hey, you have a phone call, and then it'll, go there. If it was just an audio, then, and I don't know. I mean, because like a phone call going to a common room makes sense to me, where like anybody could pick up and then you just go find the person. But yeah, like because it's their actual like face, and then they can see, and like. But yeah, that just feels weird. That feels very uncomfortable. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I feel like the only way that it, like, feels okay is if, there's something going on in the background of, like, Sirius wants to talk to Harry alone, but he tells Dumbledore, I'm going to be in the fire at this time. And then Dumbledore, like,
Magics
lets
it up.
him in or something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, like for it to be specifically on a schedule of like, and then you have, as soon as the call has ended, then you like the connection cuts off and you can't just like prompt it again. But I don't know. I guess we don't know enough about it, but it does, when you think about it too long, it doesn't feel great.
Yeah, it's almost as if this maybe is another plot hole. Anyway. I do think that there might be a bit of a Harry exception again here in this scenario. I don't see that most parents are that keen to be in touch with their kids while they're at school.
Yeah.
But maybe that is just a limited way that we're viewing it. And also, that sort of rules out any of the muggles,
Right.
Hermione's parents can't flu. So, that, even if
I
that
can
was
die
a thing,
trying.
yeah. Even if that was a thing, I felt like that would be weird because you're sort of ruling out part of your parents who can just not use the same mechanisms. So I think it might be more likely of if there was a like severe situation going on. I don't know, you somehow got very badly injured and now in the hospital wing, and we need to get notice to the parents. But then I guess at that point, probably the parents would just flew or come to Hogwarts.
Right.
I don't know.
Okay, that just brought up another thing for me though. Of what if Hermione's parents need to get in contact with her? Like, Hermione has to initiate the contact and they can respond via the owl that is sent to them. But what if they need to get in contact with Hermione? Like, what if a family member dies? Or what if there's something happening or they want to just wish her a happy birthday or something like that, and like an owl doesn't know to go to their house.
There must be some sort of Muggle parent liaison thing. That's probably another deputy that Dumbledore has given, or deputy, another thing that Dumbledore has given the deputy headmistress. So McGonagall once again is overworked because Dumbledore does nothing.
He looks for Horcruxes.
Yes, good.
Which is very high on the list of duties for a headmaster.
Headmaster. He let one walk around in his school for 6 years.
Oh, and another one is just in there, in the room of requirement.
Yeah, just sitting pretty.
Yeah.
At least he knew where the one was for the 6 years.
Kind of. that he gets banished in year 2
until he
leaves the school, so that Harry can go almost destroy his own Horcrux with another Horcrux that's in the school. For somebody who's supposed to look for Horcrux, he certainly had 3 of them in his school for 2 years.
He doesn't make the connection to Horcruxes until that Harry is a Horcrux at least until
after that.
Oh, I see. So now we're being reasonable. Okay.
Sorry to add
I didn't get the memo.
Yeah.
Great. Amazing.
Well, anyway, thank you so much for leaving a comment, Books and Magic.
Yes.
It's a really good comment.
We love comments, and if you would like to comment more so that we can pick your comment, and if you're new, you almost have a guaranteed effort that we will shout you out. Go to our website, 3 Broomsticks, and leave a comment there. We love them, we love them, we love them.
Right, are we ready to dive into the main discussion?
Dive on in, yeah.
So ready. I want to say, just before we get to our first one, when I was going through, and because I'd been old school and I'd written all my notes on a piece of paper.
Wow.
But because I couldn't be in front of my computer at the time, so I was writing them all on a piece of paper, and then I went to the computer to type everything in, and I was like, oh, well, I had that one. Oh, well, I had that one. Oh, well, I had that one. So I was like, man, I guess I'm just commenting on everything because really I had the same thoughts, apparently.
It's all this pent-up energy from missing the securities podcast.
And then anytime I came up with one that you didn't have, I was like, I win! I have something! Something to contribute.
I think this is always the case. Whoever gets first to the document sort of automatically has the largest portion of the document filled out in their color, because I just knew, because I was doing the charity walk today, I was just like, I need to get soon sorted relatively early, just so I don't lose the time to do it. So I just got in very early, and I was like, okay.
Yeah. Well, and I meant to do it before I went on my trip, and then I ran out of time, and then so I was like, oh, well, okay, it works out.
It really does. And I think listeners, you will find some of these are probably small, sort of petty, us being very critical, and some of them are probably the larger, bigger ones that
we all know
have been debated for the last 15 years or so in the fandom. So, but yeah, I think we sort of loosely tried to structure them into some sort of sections or segments. So the first one, and sort of to me, maybe the most well-known or the biggest ones, are all around the Marauders map.
Yeah,
and I'm sure
absolutely.
By me saying this, you can already guess what we're going to talk about now. So yeah, it's the Peter Pettigrew Scabbers not showing on the map, and or why, if he did show on the map, why did Fred and George not pick up on it?
Okay.
They're tricksters, not bigots.
Love this.
They know where the line is. That's how they intentionally jump rope with it so much.
Yes. I have thought, yes, this has been a topic of discussion in the fandom for forever, basically, ever since, the third one came out. And I have done a lot of thinking. I don't know if any of my answers are the real answers. I just think that they sound logical to me. So, one thing that I was thinking about is that Fred and George really seem to only use the map for their specific purpose at that time. It doesn't seem like they're really using it to, like, check out where people are, what they're doing, or, like, spy on other people. They're very much using it for, like, hey, there's a secret passage here. Are there any teachers in the vicinity or on our way to the passage? And they use it kind of as just like can we get in and out of this secret place without being caught? And so I don't know that they're really looking at the dorms at all. If, like, why would they be looking at their brother's bed? Like, it just doesn't seem like they know that they're they might be in the common room at the time. They don't need to look at the common room. They're there.
I think
they don't need to look at the dorm.
That's true.
And so
That's true for, I think, Ron, right? There's no reason to look at Ron. He's the little brother. But Percy has this rap for their first 2 years before he becomes a prefect and gets Errol. And I do think they would be on the lookout for Percy being like, God, he can't catch us. Where is he? And then, hey, he's sleeping with Peter again.
So that leads me to my next possibility, which is that it is mentioned that the writing is minuscule and would be overlapping. So if they're not really focused in on it, they may not even be able to read it, especially if it's a dorm with 5-6 boys in it. All their names are in one tiny little section. Are they going to notice a 7th name? ? They're really just looking for Percy's name. Yeah. Percy isn't a prefect
yet
at that time,
but he's a goody two shoes who will write to their mother. He
is, but I feel like it's still, they're not looking for him. They're not going to be looking for him like they would be looking for prefects, head boys, Filch, Mrs. Norris, like all of that.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and as a goody two shoes, he would absolutely not be out of bed.
Oh,
right.
Fair point.
Yeah. So they would basically know if he's not in the common room, he's in his dorm after hours. I think that's a great point, is that, yeah, he wouldn't be wandering about anyway.
I think also it's very easy for all of us to picture the movie version of the Marauders map.
Yeah.
But like in the books, it's a piece of parchment, really. So how tiny is it really? And, you know, you can't, what we all used to do every day, use our 2 fingers and zoom in. That doesn't work on a parchment.
Yeah, that's true. It's big enough that Harry can lovingly watch where Draco and or Ginny is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Enough. It's big enough for that. But if you're not looking for a name in particular, I feel like you're not going to find it. You're not going to register it. It's not going to, like, pop up. There's also another theory that I've seen other people use, and I don't think that it's right just because at the end of Prisoner of Azkaban, like, specifically disproves this, but there is the theory that the Marauders wouldn't have wanted the map to show themselves while they were in animagus form, just so that if, for whatever reason, someone else got a hold of it, they wouldn't see that all 4 of them were wandering around the grounds in the middle of the night. But that's disproven because Lupin sees Sirius and Ron and Peter get dragged into the Whomping Willow. So that's disproven. But maybe that's because he himself is a marauder, so he can see where they are.
Probably
that's the
not.
only exception that's the only exception I could potentially think of, but that involves a lot more magic on that map than I think it has.
Is it? Yeah. I forget. Is it just a movieism or not that Harry sees Peter Pettigrew in
movieism?
Just a movieism. It doesn't happen.
I do believe. Yeah, I don't think so.
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's just the movie.
He does. We obviously have the body crouch thing where Harry actually then goes in.
Right. It's almost like they took that and they like put it in the 3rd one instead of in its proper place. But it's that scene is in the 4th one where he's like, what is Barty doing in Snape's storeroom? And then goes looking.
Yeah. And then gets trapped in the stairs.
And then finds Moody.
Yeah.
Lovely.
Didn't see Moody on the map anywhere nearby, but sure saw Barty Crouch.
Yeah.
And speaking of Barty Crouch,
I was going to say, this was my next one. I don't think this is necessarily a plot hole. Maybe it's also my lack of understanding of how names work. Because I guess technically the name is Barty Crouch, and senior and junior is not officially part of the name. It's just something you add.
a suffix. Mm-hmm. Well, it's like it's a suffix. So, I mean, I guess the question would be, does Dumbledore as a name show up as Albus Dumbledore?
No.
Or does it show up as Professor Dumbledore?
Or
because
does it show up as Albus Percy Wolfric Brian?
No, it doesn't. We know it doesn't show up as that because he says he reads Harry Potter instead of Harry James Potter. So we know it's not middle name. So it seems like it's the Marauders like charmed the paper to only show two names in order for
first and last
to save screen space on their map.
Mm-hmm. Well, because the real question would be like, if someone has a doctorate, would it show up Doctor whoever? Because that would be a prefix, and I would assume that a prefix and a suffix would be the same.
Well, if you confront it, like people with doctorates so often do, maybe you can correct the Marauders map. Excuse me, it's a doctor to you.
That's amazing.
Excuse me, it's a doctor. Thank you very much.
The map.
I guess the magical version of that is Order of Merlin, isn't it? Because we don't really know if they have that level of higher education.
Yeah, Supreme Mugwump. Does it say Supreme Mugwump on Dumbledore? I was
gonna say, imagine all of Dumbledore's title and his full name was on there. He'd just be like error. Couldn't
you
load.
would know you would know where he was all the time. This happened on Top Gear. They had this wall of speed, and you could always tell where one of these cars were because its name was like 85 inches long compared to everybody else's name.
Yeah.
I imagine it just being like Albus and then like the exclamation point with the circle around it.
buffering. Man, Dumbledore makes the map crash wherever he is.
Oh my gosh. It's his secret.
There it is. That's the actual secret of Dumbledore. Great.
If all of those things are in there, is Lockhart's 5-time winner of Witch Weekly's Most Charming Smile Award.
But it's listed individually.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Cool.
Oh, man. Yeah, but no, conveniently no senior or junior.
Yeah.
I feel like it's just because it is a suffix, so it would only be first and last. They probably just didn't think about it. I mean, doesn't seem to be a whole ton of senior juniors in the world, like in the wizarding world. I think Barty Crouch is like the only one, or maybe there's only one or two others or something. I can't quite remember, but I'm not coming up with one off the top of my head.
Yeah, you're right.
So they may just not have thought about it.
Yeah, plus, it makes for a nice little hint.
Yeah. Plot convenience.
Yeah. It's like, this is not a plot hole, this is plot convenience, yeah.
Maybe at the end we have to sort them.
Yeah. And then the last one I had for the Marauders map, and you're right, Sarah, we did just talk about this recently on an episode, so we can sort of skip on this, but it's about Fred and Josh are like, here's this map. I was like, well, cool, how did you actually figure out it is a map? Because the one time we see it interacting with someone is when it obviously insults Snape. So yeah. But I think
and I think Sam, you were the one who kind of had the most to say on this, and I think we all just kind of agreed with you.
Yeah, I
for the most part.
To me, it feels like it's sensing intent of the user, right? Severus Snape, when he grabs it and looks at it, says, I'm your master, reveal your secrets, and it immediately starts to just make fun of him. Versus with Harry, it seems more welcoming when he first opens it. I think I think that it senses intent, so you don't actually have to say, I solemnly swear that I am up to no good. That it wants some sort of passcode, and it wants a way for you to say, I'm also done with this, like wipe it clean, but that the map senses sort of what's going on with the person. Otherwise, unless the map has an ability to sense intent and show somebody how to open it with the passcode, there's just like no way in heck that Fred and George would figure it out. Right.
And I think at one point we even mentioned like potentially the map kind of like coached them along to be like, like getting closer or, something like that.
Yeah.
Before we kind of came up with, well, maybe it doesn't have a specific passcode. But I like either. I think I think the map sensing intent makes sense, period.
Yeah.
And then it either knowing that they're there for mischief helps them along to figure out what the passcode is, or accepts something similar enough that it would just, like, the intent of the passcode is, like, I'm up to no good. Like, come on. That's pretty explicit. Like, that's pretty clear. So then mischief managed, like, I think is just excellent. So I feel like it may even just be Fred and George being a little extra in their password coming up with situation. Yeah. Or the Marauders were the extra ones and the map just helps them figure out what it is.
So there was an interview with J.K. Rowling who she said, so the interview asked, how did they figure out how to work the map? And she said, this is how I explained it to myself at the time, and this does sound glib. Don't you think it would be quite a Fred and George thing to say in jest and then see this thing transform? Can't you just see them? And then the interviewer says, but the exact combination, it's just a lot of luck, or Felix Felicis. And JKR says, or maybe the map helped. And the interviewer says, oh, yeah, I can see that sort of answering and joking with each other. And then she says, and then the map flickered into life here and there when they got closer and closer, and finally they hit upon the exact right word combination, and it just erupts. So it certainly even... I mean, it's very typical of early Harry Potter, where it's like, it exists because it exists. And then Rowling has to kind of go and figure out the system later on.
Yeah, I was going to say, I love that she brainstormed it during the interview.
Brainstormed it during the interview.
So, what do you think of this idea? No, okay, maybe this could work, couldn't it?
Just feeling out the interviewer.
Yeah. I hope that interviewer gets
What do you,
residuals.
Random person?
Yeah, for real. I hope that interviewer gets residuals off of Prisoner of Azkaban now.
Just like the map, it all ties together.
Incredible.
Yeah, cool. Right, our next segment I've titled Creatures, mostly talking about two here. First one, another one that is often debated in the fandom, is around a Lupin, so we're talking about werewolves, and specifically the section in Prisoner of Azkaban when Lupin transformed when the clouds stopped covering the moon, which sort of implies that he could just stay out of the moonlight and just not have to deal with Wolfsbane.
All Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yeah, for real. I was just about to say. Okay.
I didn't think about that until just now.
So, Irvin, Sierra, and Sophia, you guys all covered this already.
We did.
Episode 45. And Irvin said, first of all, that part of the episode is hilarious because we got two city folks who don't know how the moon works. And so
Irvin says he does know how it works, and it was just Sophia.
Okay.
Regardless,
I remember
funny.
The other way around.
It's recorded. Go back.
You can go back and listen to it.
Run the tape.
What Irvin says is that he read that Rowling said that they come out right at the exact time that the moon rises. So it has nothing to do with moonlight hitting or not. That's the movieism. Okay, the cloud moved and now he's fine. But instead it's like exact time when the moon rises. But the moon rising on whatever that date is in in 1993 would have been like 3 a.m. and there's just absolutely no way that they spent that many hours in the Shrieking Shack before coming out. So
I thought it was the opposite of like it was way too early and they would have spent longer. Or no, am I backwards?
No, it's 3 a.m. So there's still light out, and I know the sun sets very late in northern Scotland in June, but it's not that late.
I was going to say, not that late.
Yeah. So there's a bunch of stuff, and it kind of feels a little bit like the Marauder's Map thing, where it's like, it happened because it's contrived. Like, it's contrived to be that way. And that's okay. It's a kid's book.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I feel like the only way that it would make sense, and still like kind of go along with what she's saying is not when the moon rises, but like, no, that doesn't make sense either. I was going to say like, if it's the moon has to like hit its zenith or whatever, but then that's like way too late.
That's in the morning. Like,
yeah, exactly.
That's during the
like,
day.
That doesn't even make sense at all. Yeah, I think it really just comes down to she's bad at math. And time.
She's shown herself to be bad at a lot of things.
Yeah.
Math and time, definitely
math
at the top.
is one of them. Incredible.
Yeah. Okay. And then another thing that maybe just goes down to J.K. Rowling is bad at maths and many other things, is around the Thestrals, and often debated, why didn't see Harry the Thestrals sooner?
So I think the argument for the Thestrals is that Harry is too young to actually have processed the Thestral situation, and so that's, I think, what's been said, is he's too young, he didn't actually witness it in the way that a full cognizant human does, but then the Dementors, like, make that memory swim back to surface, and I know it's just auditory, like, he's not actually seeing it, but it is auditory, and you're not going to tell me that the Horcrux part of Harry is his worst memory is that death, because even though that is the moment where Voldemort is defeated, I still don't think that the Horcrux is strong enough to overtake Harry's worst memory. And so it feels pretty specific magic to be like, no, the eyes, which I know that hearing is more advanced for babies at that time than vision, but it still feels a little bit like too convenient. That it's like, no, you've got to see it and process it in that way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is usually the argument she uses for he didn't see it after he saw Cedric die.
Yeah, is that he hadn't processed it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's supposed to be those who have seen death. Okay, well, he technically saw death as a baby. And then it's like, oh, but you have to process it. And it's like, okay, great, but you're really going to tell me that after all of those Boggart lessons and all of the time around the Dementors that he hasn't processed his mother's death? You're really going to try to tell me that? Like, I can understand if that wasn't a part of it, and it was, okay, he saw Cedric's death, but he hadn't processed it until he came back over the, he processed it over the summer. Like, I'm willing to suspend belief on that one. Sure. But after, like, the whole fact that he saw his mother's death and then had a whole year, basically, or half a year, because it was after the Christmas holidays, to then continuously process his mother's death. Like, he should have started seeing him third year, for sure.
But, like, wouldn't Harry have even started to see them his second year? Like, he watched Quirrell die. He saw the death of a unicorn.
On that one, well, so I think it's, the argument on Quirrell's is that he didn't actually see Quirrell die because he passed out.
He passes out in the book.
Yeah, he passes out before Quirrell actually dies, because he doesn't know what happens to Quirrell. Dumbledore tells him. And then, and also because Quirrell technically didn't kill Quirrell, but Voldemort leaving Quirrell's body was like the nail in the coffin. So then, the unicorn was already dead.
Mm-hmm.
And then
it seems like it doesn't count. It doesn't count for seeing.
It doesn't
death
count
in
animals and
in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
Because anytime somebody squished a
Right.
spider or slapped a mosquito, it'd be, oh my god, a Thestral! And that just
Yeah.
seems ridiculous. And then in Chamber of Secrets,
Right.
my main thing is like, does it count that he literally kills a part of Voldemort? Like young Memory Riddle, who's coming back, dies. Why doesn't that count?
No, because he's not processing it as he's killing a person.
So
He thinks it's still a magical object.
So Draco could go and kill Crabbe in cold blood, and if he doesn't process it, it's just he won't see a Thestral.
Well, that's the argument. That's the Cedric argument.
Yeah,
which I don't fully believe. I think it's an excuse, but whatever.
I mean, Goblet of Fire, to be fair, Goblet of Fire was written in the exact same time frame as books 1, 2, and 3. It was written within a year, and it's way more massive, and there are more errors. Like, that was the big whole mom came out before dad thing that they had to reverse because there was an error. So I'm not surprised that other errors, like, authors do that. They're human people that make a lot of mistakes, as we can clearly see. And I think this is, I think this is a plot hole, and it just, the like process thing makes it way more complicated than it actually needed to be, which is just like, he should have, and we should reprint this book.
Yeah, but then you don't get Luna with her.
I'm just saying,
she's the only other one.
I imagine the reality of it is she hadn't thought of Thestrals until book 5.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then it's like a good way to introduce Luna, and then to be like, only Harry and this kind of creepy girl I can see these things. and then you get to Hagrid, who has never mentioned the Thestrals living in the forest.
Yeah, for real.
Conveniently. And then you've got Neville and Nott, who can see them too. So,
it's so funny.
it's just
Order of the Phoenix really symbolizes the movement into the larger British world. Because we get way more, like, we get all of this sort of almost anime-like exposition in Order of the Phoenix, where suddenly, like, there's just a lot more stuff in the world going on as Harry grows up, which makes sense in terms of, like, a coming-of-age story. But it does mean that there's quite a bit that's like, really? Why wasn't that there 3 books ago? So, 'tis the curse of Order.
Order of the Phoenix!
Anywho, yes. Silliness. Also, like, do you witness death if you see a mummy? Like, if you see an undead, does that count as witnessing death? Or is it the actual act of going through the veil? And I
think it's the act of somebody dying.
So then, can Harry, Ron, Neville... I know Neville can already see it, but can Harry and Ron now see death because they witnessed Sirius going through the veil?
Ron didn't witness.
Hermione and Ron?
Oh, Ron, you're right.
Ron had the brains.
And Hermione's unconscious.
Hermione also did not
witness.
Yeah,
Hermione's unconscious, yeah.
Fine, Liz, come on the podcast and correct me.
And I'm sure almost all the other adults...
Invite me, sir.
What were we saying?
You brought this on yourself.
I did.
This is a you problem.
This is absolutely...
and I was just gonna say, any adult that witnessed it probably can already see them anyway.
Yeah, maybe except for Tonks.
And there would also not be, like, ostensibly any reason to even talk about them, like, because if people aren't seeing them, then they're not going, huh. And if you are seeing them and nobody else is talking about them, you're probably also not going, huh. Like, that's just what pulls the carriages. And so there'd be, like, not even a reason to know that some people can see them and some can't.
I'm just surprised.
No, that's true, because
no one's
like, I don't think it would even come up.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, exactly. Yeah, that's my thing.
I feel like it wouldn't even come up.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But
if somebody bumps into him, it's like, oh, magic, am I right? Like, there's invisible nonsense all over, I'm sure.
I think there's a couple times where they talk about walking around the carriages, so unless they're always walking on the back of the like at the back of the carriage, close enough that they're not in the way of the front of the next one,
yeah,
then yeah.
What were you saying, Aurelia? You had a point too.
Yeah, same thing around walking into them. Like, it's, yeah.
Magic.
You
am I
would
I mean,
right?
imagine-
walking around the back though, right? That's just good sense.
I gotta say, Liz, that might make the most sense. Is just a bunch of teenagers being like, "Magic, am I right? Can't explain that one." That sounds exactly like high
I
school
would.
students.
If I were 16 and like fairly new to the world of magic, and are like, man, something's got to pull them, but what do I know? Like, I'm in school to find out.
It turns out it's a meat-eating skeletal horse. And you're like, that couldn't have gone much worse.
But also classic.
Very true.
Uh,
So on the topic of school, the next segment is all around Hogwarts, because everything's smooth here. Nothing to worry about. So this is one that really bugs me personally, and is nothing to really worry about too much, but it annoys me. Why does term always start on 1st of September? Because that they always are like the next day they had class, but that doesn't mean that the 2nd of September is always a Monday. That's just not how calendars work.
yeah. Okay, so, in fact, the way the calendars work is this. And we don't know, I don't know that every single book it says the next day classes start, but 1991, September 1st is a Sunday, which is great, because classes do start the next day, and it is Monday. Perfect year. Then, it all becomes a rather big doozy. So, next year would be, normally, September 1st on a Monday, but it's a leap year, so the 1st is actually on the Tuesday. Then, 1993, that's Prisoner of Azkaban, it's Wednesday. Okay, you can still do classes the next day. Thursday for Goblet of Fire. Friday for Order of the Phoenix, which is the weird one, and that's the one where, like, we'd have to go back through and see, like, does it actually start the next day? And then Half-Blood Prince, it's a Sunday again, because it's another leap year, giving us that nice little wonderful Monday class start. So that's kind of cool that out of the 7 years it really is. In the 1997, it is on the Monday, but it doesn't matter because Harry's not there.
Yeah. I just genuinely, I mean, I'm speaking to two people who are teachers.
Yeah.
Most schools...
We usually don't start class on Monday.
No.
The first week of the year. It's usually at least
Wednesday?
midweek.
Yeah.
Yeah, so for my school, it's
Interesting.
Wednesday. Yeah, Wednesday. Everybody, because the teachers need to prepare, and so
But you
assuming,
had all
I mean,
summer.
No.
Ew.
No, you don't. They don't pay you over the summer.
ew, that's my time.
Well, it's
I
interesting
don't have a
because
color
school in
printer at
Germany
home.
starts on a Monday.
Well, good for
Well,
Germany.
that sounds like Germany's problem. I don't.
And I know the teachers come in 2
I'll
weeks
tell you.
before school starts to
Well,
start
that's
prepping.
that's standard, but in the States it's usually half, because the idea is, like, don't start with a full week of class. Start with a half week of class to get everybody warmed up.
Yeah, so for my school, it's Wednesday. They like get oriented to the school and like any new policies, like the admin team kind of takes care of that, and then they see each of their classes for 15 minutes just to see the teachers. And then for the next 2 days, we have 75-minute classes where you're doing like syllabus and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's very similar in mine as well. It is interesting that it's just like it seems like they just go September 1st to June 30th. And it'd be interesting to hear from anybody who's British or in the UK if that is also the case, where it's just like you get July and August off, and then September through June you're at the school.
It's 6.5 weeks. 6.5
Yeah.
weeks summer break. So they start actually quite close to where I'm from in Germany, and then obviously Germany likes to keep it interesting, and it just depends where you are in the country. Because where I'm from in the south, this year school will start on, let me quickly think, so that will be the 15th of September. It's really late this year, so whenever the Monday is, but that means school will then run till like July 24th or something.
Oof.
Yeah, that's intense.
But you have more breaks in between.
That's cool.
So the same here. So for in the UK, you get half-term break in each term. So you have 1 week in each term that's halfway through the term. There's a 1 week break. Then you have Christmas, you have Easter. So, you have lots of breaks in between the year.
Yeah, that's good. We also have several different breaks throughout. That's like February break or April break, and April and Easter are often the same. So, but it's not. We do miss that one, and most schools in America miss the September to November sort of time, and then we have Thanksgiving week off, and then a month later you get a week or two for Christmas, depending on where you live. Mm-hmm. So that's enough boring information about schools. in America.
So many school schedules. But speaking of other school schedules, I have problems with the class scheduling at Hogwarts. Okay. Why do all their electives
uncommon?
Exactly. Why do all their electives overlap? Just why? Like, Hermione wants to take multiple electives, and they're all at the, like, 3 of them are at the same time. Yeah. and one of them isn't it even overlapping with, oh no, it's right after Charms. That's what it is. I was gonna say, I thought one of them was overlapping with Charms, and I was like, that's a big oversight. But, yeah, class scheduling, problematic. Also, astronomy always takes place at night. And they have astronomy for all 7 years, like, available. So they have astronomy class on weekends?
Yeah, so in the winter, it would be dark by, like, 4 p.m. So you could absolutely do a late class.
Yeah, but... So you're saying, like, they'd have, like, years 1... at
midnight.
Like, first years would have, like, the 6 or 7 p.m. class, and then it would be, like, a midnight class for the 7th years or something like that on the same day.
Yeah, there would also, there would have to be it sounds like it's, like, block scheduling, where it's, like, I'll see my astronomy class twice a week or 3 times a week. Depending on how many credits it's worth, question mark?
Also...
So then I guess they would have to have multiple. So it would have to be like, if you're first through 3rd year or something, then you have astronomy at 9 p.m. And then if you're 4th through 7th year, then you have astronomy at midnight or something.
I don't think they often have
God,
it
I hope you don't
night.
have an 8 a.m. class the next day.
I don't think you would have to have astronomy at night because, you can do a lot of the theory without needing to look at the sky. So you can learn a lot about planets and how it all works in, broad daylight. And also on top of that, it doesn't help you if you've scheduled astronomy and now it is Scotland and it's rainy and there's clouds and you can't see skies in the sky anyway. So really, I think that's probably every so often they'll be like, oh, we know we're going to get a clear night, so we're going to try and get some.
I mean, that's...
Ooh, so the
all their exams are at night.
The actual viewing then is like a lab. They have to treat it like that.
Okay.
So you'd have lecture during the day, and then lab.
I accept.
Well, and I think that's how it worked at our college. Like there was an actual astronomy. Maybe it was called astronomy. I don't remember. Anyways, there was
it was astronomy. I was in it.
Nice, great. And you guys took it in the day, and then sometimes you go to the observatory at night, right?
We took it in the day.
Well done.
You had to have observatory time.
Got it.
So you had to, like, clock in and out of the observatory for a certain amount of hours during the semester, I think was how it was. And we went on one field trip at night.
To space.
Yes, we went to space. No, we went out into, like, the middle of nowhere, so where there weren't any city lights, which was not difficult to do.
Yeah. Because is it just the astronomy OWL that takes place during night then, I think?
No, all their exams, they talk about how their exams are like at midnight or their exams are also like all the practical exams.
And do they magic the weather or is it just like, all right, everyone passed in 1992 because it was super cloudy?
Well,
Well, by the summer, it probably is more likely to be clear skies and the exams are
true,
sort of
very
in
true.
Being
June.
reasonable is just such a downer sometimes.
What a drag.
I,
You know what's
I
also
helped
a drag?
Try and stop it being logical and reasonable.
It's fine. It's fine.
Ugh, man.
You were saying, Sierra.
If you were being logical or reasonable, though, you would have substitute teachers.
Yes, that's also true.
Like, I'm sorry, but like, just think about McGonagall. No, you know what? We're not even going to take a head of house. We're going to take, well, no, we have to take a head of house because those are all the main classes. Okay, let's say Sprout, though, because, she's not deputy headmistress. Sprout has to teach 7 years of classes, of which each year 2 houses seem to take it together. And
Except
so
for
you have to
OWL.
teach 14, right. So you have to teach, okay, maybe
So it's
12,
10
12
yeah,
different
12
classes.
different classes. Mm-hmm.
10 to 12 different classes over 5 days.
Mm-hmm.
And they have to repeat. They have them twice, if not 3 times a week.
Yeah, depending on if they're doing
So-
1 hour or 2 hour classes, it seems.
Exactly.
Yeah,
So
or
if they
45
had,
versus
you know, like they have
1
like double potions with the Slytherins
Yeah.
often. So like, if you have shorter classes, you're at minimum looking at 20
Seconds.
to 36 blocks of time during the course of the week
Uh-huh.
that you are in charge of, not including anything else you may have to do, prep for your classes, everything else. You're expected to be at meals. You're expected to also be like around if
Sounds
anybody
like
needs
teaching.
you.
I don't
yes,
know.
but
This sounds like my
also-
job. What are you talking about, Sierra?
Yes. But also, then there's like no other person, period, that teaches anything remotely close to your subject.
Yeah. That happens
Like,
a lot, though.
There's nobody that you can be like, hey, I'm so sorry. Like, can you come in? Random person who has at least been in a classroom before. There's
Well,
can you come
to-
show a movie is not an option for Transfiguration. Like,
To be fair,
can you
though,
babysit my class? Ends up
many-
being Snape vindictively assigning additional homework that he doesn't know anything about.
Yeah, to be fair, like on that note, I don't know that they're hiring based on classroom experience
Yeah,
either.
for real. They're not.
These permanent positions where
True.
Because
Well, I mean, I think that they are for everything except for Defense Against the Dark.
No,
That's
I
for
mean,
Defense Against the Dark.
Hagrid has no classroom experience when he gets hired, right? It's not like he.
Well, no, but he has knowledge on his subject.
Correct. Yes, but
Is my point.
So actually, but there's-
I'm not saying necessarily classroom experience. I'm saying like someone with any sort of you can take over this class for a day.
Field knowledge, right?
If you're out.
Knowledge of their field. So that is slightly untrue because yes, they absolutely do bring Severus Snape in to do Lupin's class. But also,
Which I guess technically
he
makes sense.
actually
He's
has a
wanted to
ton
be
of knowledge
defense.
about, and Dumbledore would know that. And also, it's very, very common for teachers, even like I have subbed for math classes, history classes, I've subbed for physics classes, I've subbed for.
You just need
all
a body
sorts
in the
of stuff.
room.
You just need a body in the room. But also,
Well, yes,
they do hire when Hagrid is out for a number of days in Goblet of Fire because he's depressed. They do get a sub for, and that's how we meet whatever her toes is.
Grubbly Plank.
Yes, Grubbly Plank. That's how we meet her, and then she's there as a long-term sub the next year. So they do have subs. It's just that Snape probably threatened to kill Dumbledore if he didn't get to sub Lupin's
And then
class.
himself.
Yeah.
But anyway, it just seems like it also seems unrealistic that we don't hear about subs other
I
than
agree.
those 2
Yes.
times.
Well, and that
like
could
that's
just
just
be-
unrealistic. I know that like
It could just be
people in the
Harry.
wizarding world, like their cures for modern or for mundane sicknesses are pretty immediate, but there's no way that no teacher has ever not needed time off for something
Well, I mean-
other than Hagrid and the werewolf.
Hagrid's predecessor has
I mean,
lost limbs, so Hagrid probably subbed for that guy quite a bit.
They do seem to just have the what is that, the right. They reserve the right to just cancel class, though.
Yeah,
like we for sure can't do that in the States, but at a less than college level. But it does seem like they just have the power to cancel their class for the day.
Cancel.
Yeah, because they
okay.
all live at the castle, right? So like there's a degree of not being able to cancel class here that's like, how will kids get home all of a sudden? But like they don't have that issue to deal with. Like you just go back to your dorm. So I wonder if for the short term stuff, they're like, because I feel like we've seen that in the books a couple times of like, no class today. That I wonder if that's kind of the
version.
What they're going. Yeah, what they're going with, unless it's long term, and then they ask somebody to help out.
Okay, fine, I accept.
No longer a plot hole.
Logic wins again.
Name of the episode: Logic wins again.
Alternately, well, fine then.
On a side note, this is not a plot hole. This is just a straight up question that I cannot remember the answer to, which is, do Gryffindors and Ravenclaws ever have classes together? Because at least for Harry's year, we always hear about classes with the Slytherins,
or with
potions, cure magical creatures, etc., or with the Hufflepuffs. But I cannot think of a specific time that Harry and Terry Boot, Mandy Brocklehurst, like have class together.
Yeah, I
do you think they're inherently on an honors track? That there's just like the Ravenclaw section.
But
is
Liz,
there,
if you bring in honors tracks, like if they start doing tracking like that in school, there's literally no time.
There's no way.
And that's the thing that makes the fact that Transfiguration is only taught by McGonagall for Gryffindors so ludicrous. Is like, all right, so maybe every head of house is just getting their house by themselves, and so then all Hufflepuffs, Ravenclaws, and Slytherins are taking Transfiguration together, but that's going to explode class sizes. And like class sizes have got to be huge anyways if you have 1,000 students at Hogwarts. Like there's all of this stuff that, in terms of like the author not doing maths well, this part really doesn't math. And so
and having no
class
operations experience.
Schedules are a plot hole. Confirmed.
Absolutely confirmed.
They're a plot hole in real life.
This is true. I love that stuff, though.
Oh yeah,
man.
I
love that type of puzzle scheduling. Ugh.
It works.
Love it.
So
I love it.
I had to do when I wrote my fanfic for the Harry Potter universe, and I had to write fake schedules up, and I had to do the entire system so I could see how it works. It really only works if you're doing 45-minute classes or double equals 90-minute classes, and you only have classes meet for a total of 4 hours during the week, and you have all...
Oh, I thought you meant total, and I was like, what?
No. And you have all houses double up with another house. So the fact that Transfiguration doesn't have Ravenclaws in it is weird to me. And also, I think they must, because Ginny and Luna, that's how they meet, right? I think that was Aurelia's point. Sorry, I stole it from you.
Yeah, so to be honest, I only saw this point earlier, and I think I seem to remember that there's a note about Ginny and Luna knowing each other from the Transfiguration. But obviously that is not in Harry's year, so...
Right. So, okay. So, hold on. Let's just, for a second,
let's everybody calm
Transfiguration thing. Well, I'm just thinking. So, later on, I have a whole, like, student count thing is another one of my points. And I think maybe this is a good time to bring it up.
Yeah.
Because, by my count, based on the people sorted and referenced and whatnot, throughout time, that we are 100% confirmed that we know what house they're in, and wasn't like, I think JK, like, later on, we're like, oh yeah, this person and this person ended up in whatever houses, like, not including them. By my count, there are 8 Gryffindors, 7 Ravenclaws, 8 Slytherins, and 5 Hufflepuffs.
Who else is at that table
potentially-
in the dining hall?
But that's my next point. So potentially, Gryffindors and Slytherins, because they each have 8 students, have the class by themselves, Transfiguration, but then the Ravenclaws and the Hufflepuffs are together because there's only 5 Hufflepuffs. Maybe, like, because they're trying to keep class sizes small or something like that. That's the only thing I can think of, which then makes Gryffindor, Slytherin double potions, like, even more horrible, because then that's like, double the amount in that class stuffed in a dungeon with fumes. Anyway.
We haven't even
That's the
talked
only
about
thing that I can think
ventilation
of.
for potions.
We haven't even talked about that.
Ventilation
But, like-
for potions in the dungeons is also a plot hole. Everyone should be dead.
Yes. Yes. I know, we've already talked about bad at math, whatever. Yes, these are like wartime
Yeah, that's my argument
kids.
for this specific year.
Like, however, I'm just gonna say, why this specific year? Is Ginny's year also this way? Is Katie Bell's year also this way? Because there's no way that it only affects this one year.
No,
of
I think
students.
it's the previous. So Voldemort is at the height of his powers when Harry defeats him. So I think that you could do
Right.
a rational and logical, unfortunately, sort of
they're
curtailing-
recovering their enrollment.
Yeah. So they were. Well, damn it, Liz! I hate that we're talking work so much on this podcast. I think that they are essentially recovering their enrollment. So there's been a decline in enrollment for the past 11 years of Harry's year, because that's when Voldemort comes to power, right? They had an 11-year war, and it's been going down and down and down and down and down. So there should be somewhat of a baby boom during Ginny's year and during Colin Creevy's year and Dennis Creevy's year and all of those years. Because
Well, no, not during Ginny's year, because that is the height of his power.
then you're right.
Because
you're right.
Harry defeats him when he's
It
one.
should be Dennis Creevy's year-ish type of dealio, where the baby
Yes.
boom happens.
Yes.
You were correct, because I forgot gestation is a thing that needs to happen, for I am a man, and I don't have to do that.
They just pop out. What are you talking
Yeah,
about?
I don't know what you mean. You all go into a room, and then I have a kid.
You all.
I'm kidding, and I'm sorry to a litany of different people.
Dead. Oh my goodness. But, okay, fine. But I'm just saying, even at the start of Harry's schooling, it is insinuated through description that the Great Hall is full of people.
Maybe the
And
great.
there are so many people.
So here's my other thing. There could be.
Are you going to say the Great Hall expands?
Yeah, that it could. The Great Hall could expand to fit different kids. But also, here's my other point for all of this. It is my not very serious, firm belief that this is very much like a My Hero Academia situation, where this is Hogwarts 1A, and there's Hogwarts 1B, and Rowling, when she refers to having 1,000 students, is encompassing all the different Hogwarts sites, and that Harry just has no idea, because he's never read Hogwarts A History, that there's an entire different castle around the corner with a bunch of other students. But they're not legacy kids, and they're not super smart like Hermione, so they all go over to the 1B class.
No.
Aurelia, are you on my team? This feel good to you?
That causes more plot
I
holes
was gonna say
than
that.
the rest of this document combined.
My logical mind is just stuck.
Buffering.
I was just like, but how? And also, do they have the same teachers? Anyway, on a other logistics side note, we are going really slowly through the stock, so we might have to skip some of these
we need to start
smaller points.
speeding up.
Mm-hmm.
I think at the end of this, for the student count bit, I think it's just there cannot be 1,000 students, and it's more just like, you're right.
Yeah.
There's 8, 7, so that's 15. Another 8 would be 23, and then 5 would be 28. So there's 28 kids in a class, like 28 to 40 kids in a class, and so we're around 200 students, I think.
Yeah. basically.
doesn't math. Under 300 students, under 400 students, somewhere around there. I'm also bad at math. It's fine. I think that's what you have to say. It's half of what Rowling says it is, really.
Mm-hmm.
These are sort of smaller gripes, I think, less than maybe plot holes. But the house and punishment system just doesn't seem to make any sense. Like,
Never has.
It just seems to be completely random of how many points you get or lose for anything.
100%. Yep.
Yeah, the fact that you can get the same amount of points for knocking out a troll and also for answering a question correctly in class is a little crazy.
Yeah.
Or the fact that they get 50 points for letting the Lord Voldemort, like letting the Wizarding World know that Lord Voldemort is back, but they got 50 points taken away from them for being out of bed.
Yeah.
And points for sheer dumb luck.
Yeah, for real. Stupid. Yeah, it doesn't work. I implement these point systems in my classrooms. We have like different team names and stuff like that, and it's totally arbitrary, and I think that that's the only way that you can do it. So no wonder Dumbledore's like, you know what? Harry's here. Let's have Gryffindor win a bunch. And as soon as the Inquisitorial squad takes over, they're like, yeah, we're Slytherin wins. 1,000,000 points to Draco.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I think on a side note of that, sending first-year students at midnight into the Forbidden Forest for punishment is just wild.
It's just Dumbledore trying to bait Harry out to see if Voldemort's in the forest. Just he's fishing with Harry.
He's pure bait. Pure bait.
Anyways, that's the answer on that one. Makes perfect sense.
I mean, we never hear about anybody else getting sent into the forest, so yeah.
I mean, none of them can do any magic. Hagrid's like, well, send Sparks. Great.
I mean, who's gonna talk about him? No way they're coming back.
That's where all the extra students
Yeah, man.
I mean, the spider population needs to eat
Crowd
something.
control.
That's true. So what, this is, Hogwarts is
gosh.
actually that anime. What's it called? Paradise Island? Something like that? What's the one where...
No
Yes.
idea.
Yeah, it's that.
I think so.
Where all there's these kids growing up in an orphanage, but they're actually just being harvested for meat.
Different.
Not that name.
Any sort of battle royale thing.
Promise
anywhere.
Neverland.
Promised Neverland. Not at all Battle Royale.
Not
whatever.
at all.
It's good.
I thought you were
good.
talking about something else.
Anyways, yes, yeah. Okay, cool. We figured out that one, and then you have another one here about the troll and Slytherins.
Yes, so, I mean, considering the dungeons could be a fairly big place, so sending the Slytherins back to the common room in the dungeon maybe makes sense. But it's not like Quirrell told them where in the dungeons. Quirrell just went and troll in the dungeons, so that could be anywhere.
I think...
Yeah, but there's a prefect with them. Come on.
I think that this is...
They'll be fine.
This is just Dumbledore trying to get rid of the next generations of Death Eaters. Makes perfect sense to me.
Cool. And then on that note, why not get rid of all the students? Because in the third year, they put all the students into the Great Hall as Sirius is attacking. Sirius also, by that point, famous for killing 12 muggles in one go. So, just put them all in one place. Make it easier for Sirius.
Yeah, exactly. I maybe would understand moving the Gryffindors,
into
but
out their tower.
Sirius, as a former Gryffindor, should not know how to get into any of the other common rooms.
Yeah.
Or where they are.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, except for the fact that he invented the Marauders map, but who knows that? Only Lupin.
But nobody knows that.
Yeah. So I think it's just so funny that in my head, this is how this went. Percy's like, "Hey, we're moving all of them where? Hi, head boy. We're putting them in the Great Hall. That's right above the kitchen, right? Yeah. Didn't Sirius didn't the Muggles blame that giant explosion on a gas leak? Aren't the house elves using gas stoves for the first time this year? Because the kitchens are right below it.
Yeah,
He just goes down to the kitchen and boop."
Oh my gosh.
that's a kind
I
way
thought
to
you were
put that.
I thought you were going to say, like, from the perspective of, like, you know, a background Ravenclaw
Yeah,
or
for
a
real.
background Hufflepuff. Like, you get woken up out of bed in the middle of the night because someone tried to kill Harry Potter again. And then you have to move and have a
Again, I
sleepover
hate
in the
this
Great
guy.
Hall.
Also, can you
It's
imagine?
like, you have to come out of your safe, nice, cozy dorm because you have to go be cannon fodder for Harry Potter.
Yeah, for real.
Honestly, can you imagine the smell in that Great Hall? Anyway,
Oh, God. Especially with Alan Rickman and oh my gosh, name blanking.
Michael Gambon.
Yes, Michael Gambon with the
Fart machine.
the fart machine in their pocket.
Yeah.
So good.
That just cracks me up that they did that.
Speaking of farts, we have the Hogwarts sceptic system, which houses a creature that can murder all of students everywhere at any moment. Welcome to the Chamber of Secrets.
Just a few questions we have around that area. So, you know, did Myrtle not see Ginny all year in the bathroom whenever she opened the chamber? And, you know, maybe she
Such
did.
a good question.
And maybe Myrtle is just, you know, petty, which sort of fits her brand, I guess, and just didn't tell anyone.
Yeah, that seems
but...
confirmed.
Nobody asked me, so I
Nobody
didn't think
even
to
asked.
share.
Okay, cool. So we'll put that, but that one is Myrtle's fault. But also, how come Dumbledore's never, like, tried to talk to Myrtle about how she died?
Have you met her?
She's in a girl's toilet.
Also, we don't know how long it takes for ghosts to form, and she says that she...
Well, but she was already
says that
around
she
by
haunts-
that point.
She was all...
She says that she haunts the other person for the rest of her life first,
No,
and then comes back to Hogwarts.
not for the rest of her life. Not for the
you're
rest
right,
of her
you're
life.
right.
She says she was determined to haunt Olive Hornby for the rest of her life, but then she got like basically like a ghost restraining order on her and sent her back to Hogwarts.
We will feed you to a Dementor if you do not stop.
but even so, she's definitely been at Hogwarts for a while. Plenty of opportunities for Dumbledore to talk to her. I guess, again, we could put this one on Myrtle, that she only wants to talk to cute boys, or boys that she thinks are cute.
I mean, all Dumbledore needs to take is Polyjuice Potion, then. Pluck a hair off of Gilderoy.
Yeah, but
and go
Dumbledore
talk to
doesn't
him.
know this.
Yeah, that's
Weird, gross. No.
Yeah, I was going to say, that is... Yeah, okay, let's not...
Polyjuice Potion
right.
to Gilderoy to go talk to Moaning Myrtle would work, I'm sure.
It would, but it's also like your headmaster
But at
is
what cost?
pretending to be a younger student, and
No,
honestly,
not
it's
a
just
student.
icky.
I'm talking professor only. I'm talking Gilderoy Lockhart when he's a professor. And the chamber starts to open up,
Ew.
and he's got the murder victim right there. Also, like, Dumbledore, for whatever reason, clearly doesn't understand that it's a basilisk and a snake, and so when Myrtle does, if he does question Myrtle, Myrtle's answer would be, I saw a boy, and Dumbledore's like, yeah, Tom Riddle, okay, I got that. He said something strange, and Dumbledore's like, well, don't know what that could be. Clearly not going to take apart this sink here.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, fair.
So I'm putting that one partially on Dumbledore, would have not worked it out anyway, and Myrtle would have not talked to him, so cool.
Totally. My major question about...
In the columns of... I think we've got 3 columns now. We've got plot holes, plot convenience, and Dumbledore.
Yeah.
Dumbledore.
Oh, and we still have yet to get to the Dumbledore section in the document.
So one of my big plot holes here is the Chamber of Secrets is way down underground and is described as being very cold. So I'm confused as to how the basilisk, which is a cold-blooded creature, is so active and violent when it's that cold down there. It should, like, Harry should have been able to take the Sword of Gryffindor, walked over to the basilisk's head, and then just, like, kind of stabbed it repeatedly before it even uncoiled its first coil.
Yeah.
Well, it's been up at night.
Famously, when it's sunny and warm.
Liz is our resident snake owner, so Liz would know more. Tell me more.
No, I am pro basilisk. So sorry, guys. But also the running water at the campus isn't all cold if it's traveling through the pipes.
Yeah, but then how is it in its... Well, I guess in the movie it's shown to be a lot of water down there, so maybe it's just slithering around to warm up constantly, and it's drawn itself a warm bath of poop water. But, yeah, I just, like, it shouldn't be that active in a cold environment, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So I guess
It's
magic.
a magical snake.
Yeah, there you go.
But it's
But it's a
but it's
magic.
Angie.
It's Angie and it's magic.
Angie.
Okay, great.
All right, new section. That might also apply to Dumbledore.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
You have another. You have a point.
Continuing on this, I just have one word, pipes.
Okay, but for real, this is my biggest thing. Is it like, was it, so Hogwarts students for years and years and years and years and years just go to the bathroom in their robes and vanish it. We know that from a tweet Rowling put out. And so, like,
From a horrifying,
it's just awful.
Disgusting,
So gross.
unneeded situation.
Really? And
I was
like,
gonna say, if you said ended on tweet, then that would apply to most of her Twitter feed.
True. So, but my main question is here, is that, like, do the pipes magically expand? Like, if somebody has a giant dump, do the pipes expand a little bit to make sure that can go down
Filch
easily?
wouldn't take care of it.
And so gross. And so then does the basilisk just register into the pipes like a regurgitated giant turd that is like coming back to haunt the castle for years of poor drainage? Like, what's going on? How do they have such giant pipes?
But okay. Also, if we're going by the pipes can magically accommodate whatever is going in there, then Myrtle's bathroom should never be flooded.
Right. That's so true. And so why do they have such a giant, like, because it's not just the one pipe.
Do you think they're moody like the stairs?
Maybe.
And they're like,
Temperamental pipes.
I am literally sick of this shit.
Because like Harry hears the basilisk throughout the school, and the inference that you're supposed to make there is that it's moving through the pipes throughout the school. It's not just like the one giant pipe that they slide down from the sink. It's not like Voldemort would go, that's how we enter the Chamber of Secrets. That's not necessarily how the basilisk pops out. So like, why aren't there more broken toilets? Why aren't there more broken sinks? Like, what is it popping out of? Or is it just that, like, they're magically accommodated somehow? Or is it that they did this years and years of just vanishing your own poop so that they overcompensated and all the pipes are enormous because they just don't know exactly how a muggle system works?
By Angie.
I think by the silence, this means we're never going to figure this one out. Plot hole.
None of us have the experience to back this one up.
Yeah. And there's still the whole point of the pipes are just also flooding straight into the lake. So
yeah, that is the problem.
Do you think they're magically retrofitted after the basilisk is added to the infrastructure?
Well, that has to have happened.
Well, wasn't there the whole... We talked about this in a different episode where basically the pipes... the person who installed the pipes was a descendant of Salazar Slytherin and put in the Chamber of Secrets with accommodation for the basilisk in the pipe system.
It's just...
is like a real thing.
That'd be such a strange character to go and understand, because this guy is the descendant of Salazar Slytherin who keeps up the tradition of Muggle hating with the snake, but he knows the Muggle system of plumbing really well. So, what's his deal? He's just evil Arthur Weasley? Arthur Weasley's hand got
a Muggle is right 2 times a day. Even a Muggle.
Trains and plumbing, and that's it. Those are the 2 times that they were right on the same day.
Oh, we draw the line of pens.
Stupid.
Guys, I'm reading a fanfic right now where Harry goes back and has to redo everything all over again, but he's like after being an adult. And one of the first things that he does is he just like introduces pens and lined paper.
All right, first of all, we're doing this. Second of all, can somebody go to this bathroom for me? I need to get in there.
Oh, yeah, no, he like, it's a whole thing. It's very funny.
That's great.
It's hilarious. I will put it, that's your recommended reading, is this, Harry does it. It's literally called, I'm pretty sure it's called, Oh No, Not Again.
Amazing.
It's hilarious. That'll be the recommended reading for this episode. It's great. Because he points out a lot of these plot holes. It was really helpful reading that right before this episode.
That's awesome. And speaking of more plot holes due to the basilisk, you've got a great point about why don't all the portraits tell everybody, hey, there's a giant snake slithering around.
Okay. We're not going to get too much into this because we have a whole portrait episode where we talk about this. However, I have a new theory.
Great.
The portrait seeing the basilisk, quote, kills them, which resets their default states. I don't remember if we talked about that
we did not.
at all. It sounds reminiscent, but I don't think this specifically came up. So this is my new theory, and I'm going to stick with it.
So everybody's just like boring and has no characters.
Well, no, they have their
like, it goes back to right before.
Oh,
it's a factory reset.
Yeah,
okay, gotcha.
It resets to before they saw the basilisk.
Got it. Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah.
You fixed it.
Well done,
Sorry,
Sierra.
you got it. You got it. Made me think of, it was like, I think in Rio. Get it. Sorry.
Get it.
Anyway.
So, now that we've left the Hogwarts septic tank and we've flown down the tubes into the lake, we are now surfacing up at Hogsmeade, and I have all the things here noted that Harry can do without signed guardian permission, which makes no sense to me, because they have to have signed guardian permission so that he can go like 12 feet down the road to a little town. Here's what he can do. He can play Quidditch without guardian signed permission, where he gets multiple injuries. He can have detention in the Forbidden Forest. Again, Forbidden Forest, without any signed parent guardian permission. Not that the Dursleys wouldn't sign to be like, he can die, sure. But they doesn't have to have it is the issue. He can have special Dementor lessons where he relives the murder of his parents without, and that's outside of approved school curriculum.
Without their permission.
Without their permission. Oh, God. He can have independent lessons with Dumbledore, including field trips. He can have legitimacy performed on him by an adult wizard. He can do his apparition training when underaged. And lastly, and most importantly, he's allowed to participate in the Triwizard Tournament without signed guardian permission. There's not even an attempt of Dumbledore to show up at the Dursleys to have them sign a waiver in case he dies, even after the fact when he's been accepted. So those are all the things Harry can do without a signed guardian permission, and that is a plot hole to me.
But Hogsmeade, you gotta hold one line.
Pens, paper, and Hogsmeade.
But what if he gets a candy?
Maybe it's
the point is he's leaving the grounds.
No, I know.
I think it's maybe more to protect the outside world of Hogwarts.
Oh, that's actually a really interesting point, that you just have to sign an all-encompassing waiver to live on campus.
Wow.
By signing this.
The second, as an 11-year-old, when you sit on the stool and they put the sorting hat on you, that's when you sort of like magically signed that waiver.
It's essentially a contract, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Incredible. So the sorting hat is their legal representation, is what I'm hearing. That's the other job.
On the underside of the brim is all the fine print. It's your bad if you weren't reading.
So it still doesn't make sense. So everything else, play Quidditch is on the grounds, special Dementor lessons, Triwizard Tournament, independent lessons with Dumbledore, legitimacy, apparition. That's all on grounds. However, Dumbledore's field trip and the Forbidden Forest all happen off the grounds without signed guardian permission.
Forbidden Forest, I believe, is still
I think it's on grounds.
Okay. Well, it's forbidden.
I think that is part of the property.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but it can't be forbidden unless somebody owns it. And
I see. It's owned by Hogwarts Incorporated.
That's its actual name.
Got it. Great. Well, good. Any other things happen in Hogsmeade that are kind of plot holey?
Well, speaking of that permission slip, so the first meeting of the DA in the Hogshead is during, obviously, a Hogsmeade weekend, and Colin Creevy's younger brother, Dennis Creevy, who at this time is a second year is attending this meeting. So either the rules changed or someone snuck out of Hogwarts.
Plot hole. Confirmed.
Yes.
I have nothing to add. That's it. It's a plot hole. Well done, Aurelia. Claps for you. And
It's probably that he snuck out, if we have to venture a guess, because he's as big of a fan of Harry as Colin is, but that's about all. That's
yeah.
And I have to imagine Fred and George, if they were told that Dennis wanted to come, would have helped him get out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's about all I got on that one.
Confirmed.
But
the literal
more
definition
on Fred and George, though.
Go for it.
Yeah. More on Fred and George and how old people are. The Gryffindor Quidditch team, year one. This isn't really a plot hole, just something that's a little
seems implausible.
Let me get this straight. There are no 6th or 7th year players, period. Meaning that Oliver, the oldest as a 5th year, is the captain. And then Fred, George, Angelina, and Alicia are all 3rd years, so there's no 4th years either. They just suck, I guess. And then Katie is a 2nd year, but she seems like she's already an established player.
Yeah, that's my biggest
even
plot hole.
before Harry joins. So that doesn't make sense, because it seems like Angelina, Alicia, and Katie have been playing as a group,
Well,
but
they
haven't
could
had
be.
any Quidditch.
They could be
But they haven't had
They
any-
could do club Quidditch.
Yeah, they can.
Right? Their summer Quidditch team.
Yeah.
Well, there is
Maybe,
now.
but
Doesn't
like
have to
it's
be
already
cool.
assumed that she's on. I guess we don't know if tryouts have already taken place at this
They
time.
have, for
we
sure.
have to, I guess, assume that they have, and that therefore this is the team
But
because Harry's coming
That
on
also means
late.
that
but
they had tryouts and found no seeker.
Well, my
But they-
headcanon is that there is a 7th year seeker who finally made it, even though he's terrible. And McGonagall just cannot chill about the Gryffindor Quidditch team and just absolutely bans him somehow. Like, gives him detention on every Saturday so he can't play anymore or something of that nature to get her beloved Harry on the team.
She's like, sorry, you can't be on the team. I've already bought a broom.
Yeah, for real.
No, but that's my problem. Is they've already had tryouts. They found no seeker, so they were just going to play a game without a seeker,
Which is wild.
which like we know they technically can do
Yes.
because they do it
But
without
the bar
Harry.
is so unbelievably high.
Yeah. So like, yeah. Anyway, the whole team questions. So many questions. Question.
Yeah, I mean, Quidditch seems like a plot hole in general to me.
Yes. Yeah.
As
Anyway,
do wands.
moving on from that one.
Wands are also kind of a plot hole in this entire book series.
Which is interesting considering it's a book series about wizards.
Magic and wands.
Wands.
Why was Ron allowed to use a broken wand? Whose idea was that, and why did no one stop it?
I mean,
Plot convenience.
Honestly,
this happens
yeah.
with students and broken computers. Like, as a public school or private school, you don't always supply students with their materials. They have to bring their own sometimes, and sometimes,
Which brings us to the next
Yes.
point.
yes.
Why are they so prohibitively expensive?
So are laptops. I think they're
Because
proportionally the
Oliver-
same amount.
I know, I'm saying
I know.
that.
Because
But at least with a laptop, there's another option of using pen and paper.
Yes.
It might not be as convenient,
Well,
but
technically
there is
by that point,
option.
there is a lot of wandless magic that can be accessed. It's just that Hogwarts does a wand curriculum. So if you're saying you can use pen or pencil, technically Ron could just try using his hands.
I think
which
this
is a terrible
just
sentence.
a marketing
No,
ploy
I
by
think that's two
Ollivander.
very different things.
Yes, I agree with that. He's
Yeah, he has cornered the market.
Yeah.
There's
in
a
every
wand
possible way.
mafia, and it is enforced by the Ollivander family.
Yeah, honestly.
It is a forced scarcity for sure. Like you're telling me that these these pieces of wood, this singular hair, is that scarce.
Okay, so wands are 7
Also-
galleons. They are 175 USD according to the Reader, which they wrote this. They have a pretty good breakdown on it, and it was published February 5th of 2016, so it'd probably be more like $300 today.
Yeah, which
about the
is less than I thought, but it's still
a lot.
It's still a
still,
lot,
you know,
for
the price of
a
10-year-olds.
required item.
Yeah, for the essential
For
item
a
that you have to
required
have.
item for an 11-year-old. Yeah, that's a lot. And if you try to circumvent that with a hand-me-down wand, why? I'm sorry, but first of all, how do hand-me-down wands exist if the original owner is still alive?
Like with the Elder Wand, you can get it.
Well, but here's the thing. So Ron has Charlie's old wand. Charlie has a wand. So what, he just like decided he wanted a new one?
No, I think it's probably that's a hand-me-down as well. So it's like Charlie's grandfather's or Charlie's uncle, like Gabian or Fabian Pruitt, Molly's brothers that were killed. So that's their wand, and then they could afford to get Charlie a new wand finally, and so they did, but they couldn't afford to get Ron one, so they gave him that, and then Ron eventually does get his wand.
Well, but it doesn't make sense though, because your wand chooses you.
Well,
you're not choosing your wand.
So we see with
So by that logic, there should be like, yes, there are allegiances swapped, but if we're not getting into that whole situation, like, what, you just are like, okay, I'm gonna get a new wand now. Then you just go, you get a new wand. What if there isn't one that's gonna choose you in the shop? What if there isn't a new wand for you?
Yeah.
You got your
You
wand.
have your wand. It still works for you. Why would you get a new one? It doesn't even make any logical sense.
True. We do know that wands will spontaneously combust some of them. They will spontaneously, like, destroy themselves if they're too bored with their owners. So allegiances change
but that's not a hand-me-down.
No, I know, but
wand,
then you might take that wand or something like it. We know that wands can sometimes be out on their person, right? So with that being said, you might, all right, I got the spare wand.
You just got to be really mean to it.
Yeah, basically. Voldemort, is able to use
like running around in Animal Crossing, hitting your villagers with a net.
Voldemort is able to use the Elder Wand quite effectively, even though its allegiance isn't born to him. Draco's able to use a wand, even though it's not allegiant to him. Harry's able to use a wand, even though its allegiance isn't technically to him. Ron is able to do it, and Neville really sucks at using Hermione's wand. Got to tell you that. Does not work very well at all. So it seems like...
Well, he sucks at using the hand-me-down wand that he has,
I know, and then he's suddenly
too.
much better next year when he has his own wand. But it does seem, and I would hazard a guess at the fact that unicorn hair wands have an easier time being kinder to the people holding them than Dragonstring or Phoenix. And so I wonder with unicorn hair ones if it's just easier to sort of use that because that's a more easygoing animal.
I don't like it.
All right.
Sorry. You can logic that one, but I'm not going to accept it on this occasion.
That's fine.
I also will not accept
positions now under
the
logic.
following things. I also think these next 3 questions are basically the same. How does Peter get Voldemort's wand? No idea. How does Sirius get a wand? How do all the escaped Death Eaters get wands? Question. The only thing that I can think of is wouldn't you assume that the Ministry has possession of criminal wands? And when they don't have full access to the Ministry
but also,
at this time.
Why would you keep the wand of someone you've sent to Azkaban for life?
Yeah, wouldn't you break it?
Maybe there's an amendment that says everyone has a right to have a wand.
The only thing I can think of, okay, here's my new theory. The wands get sent to your Gringotts vault.
Oh, interesting.
And goblins don't care.
Yeah, they really don't.
Goblins don't care if you're a criminal or not. You can still access your vault as long as you have the key.
Because presumably Voldemort's wand stays in the Potter house after he tries to kill them all. And then the next person...
So Peter, I guess, sneaks back?
The next person that goes in is Hagrid and then Sirius.
And then Snape. Well, Snape's the first one in.
Yeah.
Yeah, who knows? I bet the Lestrange's whole cohort went actively looking for it and got it.
Yeah, maybe.
Sirius getting a wand, no idea.
I can see that.
Death Eaters getting wands, also no idea. So...
Well, Sirius manages to get a broom using a cat, so I feel like he can also...
What a crazy sentence.
He's a resourceful guy.
Why are you questioning this? This makes perfect sense.
You're right. I'm so sorry.
He goes to Ollivander. He sends the cat to Ollivander. And Crookshanks goes, meow, meow, give me 10 wands to try. Takes them back to Sirius. Sirius tries them all. If any of them, it's like, what's the, like, Rent the Runway or like, no, the, like, Stitch Fix. That's what I'm thinking of. Like, you get a box of clothes, and then if they don't work, then you send them back.
Stitch Fix for wands.
And you get new ones.
I love it. I love it so much.
Rent the Runway was also a good pull, though.
Yeah, that too. Oh my gosh. But on my last wand question, because I just will not accept most logical answers on the other ones, because it really just doesn't make... Okay, fine. I'll accept how they get some of those wands. I will accept those. But
I'll figure that out on my own time.
fine. If using 3 wands at a time makes spells just totally overpowered, why don't people do that more often?
Yeah. Maybe it's very hard to coordinate.
I don't know. Harry manages it on accident.
Well, I think it's more likely to happen
That's how
on
a lot of
accident.
his life goes, though, to be fair.
Yeah, fair.
This is true.
It would be really
this
funny
is
though
very
if they all
true.
had like, you know, like dance troupe, like they did choreos and like, and then on this move we all do this same spell together. And then the problem with Harry is he can't participate because he only knows one spell.
That's true. That's true. On to Horcruxes.
Yes, so mostly this is around, for me, both of these points I have here are around, they seem very inconsistently protected.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the cave thing that we see with Dumbledore is like insanely protected,
Yeah.
and then the other ones seem
Right.
to be almost not protected at all.
Thrown away.
Yes,
Yeah.
well, this one's in a Gringotts walls. Okay. I mean, yeah, it wasn't easy breaking in, but the other one was in a cave where you had to do a lot of stuff to get to it, so...
Another one's thrown on a pile of
I guess
trash.
we would have to...
Yeah.
yeah.
Like in Hogwarts, just like...
I guess I feel like we would have to assume that the Gaunt house was as protected as the
Yes,
cave.
I agree with that.
And
We know that because
I think
Dumbledore
that the one in
almost dies.
Hogwarts...
But
yeah.
not because of the
Right.
protections, but because
No,
he
but not because... Yeah.
puts the ring
Well,
on.
yeah, the
He
protections
succumbs to his
on
own
the ring.
weakness.
It was the protections on the ring that nearly killed him.
Oh, true. Yeah. And then I think the diadem can be explained by Voldemort's own hubris.
Yes, and Harry does a good job explaining that.
And then he also has too much faith in his followers because he entrusts them to two people that he thinks are going to protect them as well as he would. But they don't fully understand what they are, just that they've been given something to protect. And so Bellatrix is just like, yeah, put it worth all my other cool stuff. And Lucius is like, well, this seems interesting. Maybe I can use it on my enemies. So I feel like that is not necessarily Voldemort's failure to protect, but more just like a poor choice in explanation.
Yeah.
He's very like Dumbledore-esque in this moment of like, here's a thing, but I'm not going to tell you quite how important it is, just that it's really important.
Yeah.
I'm not going to tell you why. So, yeah. So I guess I can see, but yeah, it is fairly inconsistent, but I think that there's reason behind
Yeah.
it.
I mean, we
Okay.
know Gringotts, he thinks is super well protected. He thinks that
True.
that nobody else can get into the room of requirement, which is just being idiotic. But he thinks that that's really,
Ludicrous, yeah.
really protected. The ring and the locket are both really protected in the house and the cave. Nagini he keeps personally with him. He gives Lucius, and Lucius protects a bunch of dark stuff with him. And I think Dumbledore even
True.
says, or Rowling said in an interview at one point, that Voldemort probably gave Lucius an idea to do that at some point, but that he never thought Lucius would do it without his permission. And then
That makes
and
sense.
then Harry's the accidental one. So they are. He thinks they're well protected, but that's because one of his giant flaws is that he's cocky.
Yeah, true. Very true.
But also, it's way too easy to break and enter, as you say, Aurelia. Like, way
Yeah.
too easy.
Yeah.
So it's very, I mean, book one is
Sure.
like the safest places are Gringotts and Hogwarts, and then whoops, we're
And then they're
breaking
all
into them.
broken into all the time.
Yeah. Well, never mind. Well, they might still be more protected than other places, but they're really not that protected.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Talking about other magical things.
Mm-hmm. The Hallows. Okay. So, if Dumbledore's plan, originally, was to die the last official owner of the Elder Wand, because he had arranged with Snape to kill him, so therefore allegiance shouldn't have transferred to Snape because Snape didn't best Dumbledore. So the allegiance shouldn't have swapped to Snape. So Dumbledore would have died the last owner of the Elder Wand, which is now what Harry's plan is. Why bother leaving Harry clues to the Hallows? Because they would be incomplete.
Because Dumbledore's a little stinker.
So we're putting this squarely in the because Dumbledore.
Yeah, for real.
column.
The only sort of like
He's just a little stinker.
yes, the only sort of headcanon-y thing I can think about is that magic, and so when he does some sort of thing with the book that goes to Hermione, where it's like, okay, so it's like a magical estate plan essentially. If I get disarmed and the magic senses that, then this book gets sent to Hermione. But that is headcanon and also extremely implausible.
Yeah.
Sierra thought about it and no.
And was like, yep, you're right, Sam. That sucks.
My other thing is, I think this is definitely a plot hole of a, it was not thought through beforehand. Why can Moody's eye see through the cloak?
Well, yeah.
That should not be a thing because it's a Hallow. It's not a regular invisibility cloak. Him seeing through regular invisibility cloaks, sure, I will give you that, 100%. But it should not be able to see through.
The Moody's eye is the fourth Hollow,
cloak.
which is why the next play that Jack Thorne is writing is Harry Potter and the Fourth Hollow.
No.
Yep, there's no reason. It's a plot hole.
Is
Nice
it
job.
gonna
It's
be
an actual
4
plot
parts?
hole. What was the question, Aurelia?
I was going to say, is the play going to be 4 parts?
Yeah, it's 4 acts.
Yeah,
that.
and you have to see them. They only do part 1 for 1 week, then they only do part 2 for 2 weeks.
So you gotta come back a week later.
So you have to just be in London for like months to just see all 4 parts.
That's great. I wouldn't mind doing that. The play will make no money.
Shocking. They should have hired Ollivander for marketing.
There are no other plays to see but this one. In anywhere in the world, it's only the Globe Theatre during the daytime in the week, and they only show it once every 7 years. Brigadoon of plays.
Oh my gosh.
Anyways, transportation issues. We have multiple transportation issues. Starting in Sorcerer's Stone with our beloved Hagrid. Who, Sierra?
Yeah. How does he get to the hut on the rock, the sea?
Thestrals.
He says he flew, but a broom can't support his weight. We don't see the motorbike. Otherwise, I would assume they would have left via the motorbike, and like what, he just like leaves it there, and it's not like sentient. It can't come back to him. So then that left me with a Thestral, but I am assuming that if a broom can't support him, a Thestral can't support him.
I don't know. They're magical creatures, so if a basilisk isn't cold-blooded because it's magical, I'm sure a Thestral could support Hagrid's weight.
So we're putting this down to magic.
Yes. Magic.
Because magic. Okay, great. So then, then my follow-up, which will not have a because magic answer. How did the Dursleys get off?
No,
the
yeah,
I think
one.
this is something Rowling answered probably in the same interview, because it was also a brainstorming type answer, which is like, so I reckon the owner of the hut would at some point wander and find out that they were still stuck there, and she's sort of like, yeah, okay.
So they like starved to death?
No.
They had like 2 bags of chips.
Maybe Dumbledore transfigured or sent some food to them with an owl, knowing that they were stuck there. Like, he won't help, but he will make sure they won't die.
Yeah, he still needs them.
Yeah, he does. He does need Petunia at least.
Yeah. So, similar question. Why didn't the Order of the Phoenix simply apparate Harry away from the Dursleys at the beginning of said book? Because there's not really a good reason for traveling by broom for this one.
Okay, so I have so many questions about apparition that I'm going to do them here as well. So, like, does side-along apparition trigger any trace? Can you do it over bodies of water? How far can you do it with side-along apparition? Are they just so scared because it's not Dumbledore that the side apparition is actually just mega hard and only somebody like Dumbledore can do that? I have many questions about apparition. And also,
Harry's
how is there
side apparates Dumbledore back.
Yes.
Yeah,
from
but
the cave.
Harry's also
Yeah.
super cool. So maybe it's just your two legends.
No, I mean, doesn't Hermione apparate both
She's also a
Ron
legend.
and Harry at some point?
Yeah.
I think but side-along apparition is fairly common.
Yeah, I agree.
That's like a thing that parents do with their kids, like, frequently.
Yeah.
I
And I would say the trace, but I don't think that apparition would spark the trace. I don't know, but they're also
we
using
have
small amounts of
literally
magic around the house anyway.
Yeah.
Dung apparating nearby, which is why Harry then, is on alert. And that didn't trigger the trace.
Right. So why didn't they
Right.
just walk 3 feet and go where Mundungus was when he was in the invisibility cloak?
Yeah, exactly. So you could literally you still leave the house, do the
That's like-
apparating.
There's so many questions about apparition. One of the main ones around apparition too is like, why didn't Dumbledore just take his dog for a walk at the end of Prisoner of Azkaban and then apparate Sirius to the Caribbean? Like, that's way easier than everything that happened at the end of Prisoner of Azkaban.
Well, I think because
So true.
officially Sirius had to have escaped because they had captured it.
Yeah, but he could just leave the window open and then still set Buckbeak loose. Like, you could just free Buckbeak and then open a window and be like, yeah, crazy. That's crazy.
Yeah, but I think Buckbeak would have returned because he either knows Hagrid or his herd.
Yeah.
That's true.
And herd animals just will come back to their herd.
True.
So he needed somebody to go with him.
Also, does apparating when you splinch, does it kill people? Is it sometimes that you apparate and you've just separated everything? Or is it like magically kind of healed until you put everything back together?
I don't think so. Because I think when you originally hear about splinching, it does sound like it would be slightly more like comical, which I think even Harry mentions, where it sounds more comical of like, oh yeah, your like arm just kind of like popped off or whatever and you just like reattach it. But then when we actually see it, it's like really gruesome. And so I think that I can imagine it would be fairly common. Well, not common, but I can imagine that splinching deaths are probably up there.
Yeah, totally.
In terms of like cause of death for wizard kind.
Yeah, probably similar to like car crashes in our world.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
They make the annual list of most common cause of death per year.
Mm-hmm.
Dragon pox and splinching.
Splinching related deaths are up by 10%.
Oh my god.
What can
We need our licensing system to be better.
Oh no. Oh god. Oh no.
Anyways, that's a great plot hole. Why don't they just apparate Harry?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
that's a great one.
I think the whole point you had around apparition also is like the whole house elf magic thing is just genuinely like it's just different. Okay, how? Because
House
how
elf
did
magic
Dobby know Shower Cottage?
House elf magic is like Jack Sparrow's compass in Pirates of the Caribbean, where it's just like it shows you where you want to go, and that's just kind of like, all right, yeah, Dobby just knows. He goes exactly where Harry's heart tells him to.
The only thing that I can think of is that because like they're I don't know, Ron tells him
Shell Cottage. I mean, maybe Aberforth knows where Bill and Fleur are, and so he tells Dobby when he tells him to go rescue him.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. It's just genuinely around apparition. I'm like, how can you apparate to a place they haven't already been?
Yeah.
Because you're supposed to sort of...
It's like Jumper.
Yeah.
The movie, so there's the movie Jumper with Hayden Christensen,
Good book.
which like totally totally would have been a really, really good movie. They kind of failed a little bit, but amazing concept.
Yes. The book's
he can
great.
only go places that he has seen. However, he gets away with this by like postcards and like other people's pictures of places, and then he can like jump
God,
there.
he would be immortal
he can,
in
like,
the social media age.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that would be so cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, so anyway, he can like go anywhere that he can see, but looking at a picture counts as like seeing.
God, he must have the best cell phone international data plan. So just Google Maps and Earth. It's all right. Yep, there I am. No.
Yeah.
It's like I'm there.
And also, like, how do we not hear more about apparition, like, vacations? Like, why does it cost so much to go to Egypt when they can just side along apparate or Flu Network? Like, how is it that Harry or the Weasleys aren't just like, oh yeah, China was great?
Yeah.
Apparitions just, I mean, just the whole thing, once you have a travel method that allows you to easily, cover a lot of space, it just, distance becomes a bit irrelevant in a lot of things.
Right.
It's like, we're in Scotland, London is so far away, not if you can apparate.
Yeah,
right.
For real.
Like, yeah. Anyway, more apparition questions. Why didn't the trio disapparate when they were cornered inside their tent by the Snatchers? Yes, the Snatchers are saying, we have our wands pointed at you, but they can't see them. So how would the Snatchers know when to attack if you can't see when people are leaving?
I think
the only answer that I have is that which I can't remember if it's canon or not, would be that either the trace itself that's put on, or sorry, not the trace, the taboo, that either the taboo or the Snatchers put an anti-apparition ward around them.
That's my thought as well, is that the trace comes, or the not the trace, what's it called?
The taboo, yeah.
Comes with an anti-apparition so that you can immediately catch the person.
Yeah, that would make sense.
I think it's the only thing that makes sense. Otherwise, it is an enormous plot hole to just be like, oh no, come here, guys. Bloop.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay, I'll take that. So, talking about Snatchers, leading us over to the next section in the document, which is Voldemort. I think Voldemort, in a lot of ways, a lot of times, it's plot convenience with him. Because, a lot of it is like his tendency to like monologue, like, and then till Harry can finally free himself and get away with it.
Cough, great.
Yeah. so that is, a lot of these moments for me are just general plot convenience. Because we're sort of getting...
I think that's the whole point with almost all of these Voldemort points, is it's just like, because the plot needed to happen.
And
right.
it's hard to pick one spelling of Mwahahaha.
What? It's hard to pick a spelling? No. Muahaha.
I know. See, I would go W.
Yeah, I would as well. W is mine.
Yeah, W.
Oh.
So it is hard.
There you go.
There you go, bud. Fair enough.
We answering the hard questions here today.
How to spell Mwahahaha?
The thing is, we couldn't even put that out as a written question because we'd have to spell it.
We have to spell it.
Yeah.
All of these Voldemort
So
stuff.
that's for sure out for the name of the episode.
Yeah. That is absolutely. It's 100% logic wins again. It can't be anything else.
So on the note of logic, why didn't Voldemort confirm Harry's death sort of himself, or at least sort of somehow more thoroughly? Because Harry's escaped him so many times. It should matter to him more.
Because, Aurelia,
I think
it comes down to over centuries of human history, they have worn these protectorate pieces called armor, and metaphorically, the plot sometimes has that, which means that
okay, in the story. So I feel like in the story, the reason why Voldemort himself does not go in check is because he is actually a little scared. So, and he does not want to show that he is scared of this whole situation and of the idea that Harry might not be alive and then he'd have to try again. And what if it doesn't work again? So I think
he doesn't want to be embarrassed.
Does not. Exactly. So I think he's trying to boost back. He just got knocked to the ground and was unconscious. That's embarrassing enough. So like, I think he needs to boost himself back up into the, take charge role and, order some people around. And what I don't understand though is why he chooses Narcissa. Yeah. Part of a family who has failed him numerous times now, and has shown themselves in his eyes to be weak. Why would he not send Bellatrix?
I think because
that's the logical.
This is his hubris. I think if we're talking actual logic here, this is his hubris again. That he is not thinking that it's even possible. So he has somebody confirm, but it's kind of a lazy thought, which again seems out of character. All of this seems a little out of character, and that's why it feels like plot armor to me.
I wonder about the like combination, right, of the obvious hubris point, but also like I've spent what amounts to Harry's whole life trying to get to this point, and I swear to God, if it wasn't enough, I'm gonna flip out. And so like just the constant like preparing for all 18 years and then getting to this moment, like, I'm not double checking. I did everything to get here.
That's really funny.
I've done it all.
Oh my gosh.
This works.
This works. I know it works. I've done it twice now.
He's just manifesting it. He has to. It has to. There isn't another option.
Voldemort tried to manifest Harry's death is very funny.
When you have magic at your disposal.
Yeah.
And you're like, what if I still left it up to chance? Wouldn't that be funny? Wouldn't that be crazy of me?
It is interesting that he, for the second time, the first time he tried to kill the baby and it doesn't work, right? And so you would think the second time he'd be like, give me a gun. I'm not going to try the spell this time.
Clearly, our world's way of doing things are not adequate for this child. There's too many loopholes.
Too many loopholes.
There's too many loopholes in this.
In fact, actually,
Love
just bring your neck
you
to my hand. I'm going to choke you out.
I have to use my actual physical being.
Almost as if he had a snake that literally would kill by that way, choking people.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or whatever.
Or
that's why he's a little stinker.
Or biting it. You got venom. There's so many other things.
None of it's worked. He already tried that too in the second book.
Yeah,
the second book, he had a
snake
much larger snake try to eat him.
I know, you think a regular ass snake's gonna work? Absolutely not.
Is he just going through like a list of different ways to kill Harry, and he went through the whole list, so now he's back at try 1? He's like, well, I guess we'll try this again.
Yeah. Well, yeah,
he had his complicated plan.
Pure law of averages, right? That, like, there's no way this fails twice on the same kid. This one kid 2 times? You're just trying to Occam's razor it, and it absolutely fails.
That's really funny.
That's great.
Yeah.
It is the simple answer. It fails, but what also fails is the complicated answer.
Yeah. Honestly, I'm not even sure. Was it Barty Crouch Jr. who came up with the Triwizard Tournament plan? Because if you actually think about it, that whole plan is so insane.
It's incredibly insane. No, it's not Barty Crouch Jr. who comes up with it. It's Bertha Jorkins who lets them know it's happening. And the 3 of them, sort of do a brainstorming session, which feels like they all got really high and were like, but then this happens. And then this happens. And then we'll have them do
in a corner, and it was like, but you sure you should be doing it this way? And they just brainstormed solutions. Yeah, honestly.
Yeah.
They're like, you guys, there is every possible failsafe in this plan. If Dumbledore doesn't kill him on sight, then we have our backup.
Yeah, for real.
If a dragon doesn't get him, then a mermaid will eat him. And if a mermaid doesn't eat him,
Then a sphinx will eat him.
This horrible maid.
Or the
will
acromantula.
kill- yeah.
Or
Also,
Or the
I imagine
blast-ended
at that
screw.
point, they know that the
Should have
tournament
been
happens,
fail-safe.
but they don't know the tasks. I
Yeah,
think,
but Barty
I think
Crouch
that
knows.
is something Barty has to make up on the fly as he finds out
and he's
about
just
them.
he's been living with a house elf and his dad for too long. This is what happens
Yeah.
when kids stay in their house past 18. They get real stir crazy.
The man, the myth, the legend.
You heard it here first. Go outside, meet some people.
Yeah. Don't stay at home and
Listen
read
to this
books.
podcast on a walk.
Yeah.
Oh wait, the man, the myth, the legend. That was
Yeah.
that was the other one that you were
Oh, that
on,
was
right?
me.
Liz?
Yes,
Oh,
that
you
was
have
Liz
Yes!
calling back to
Oh
her
my
previous
gosh,
thing.
yes.
Yeah.
I'm so glad.
Barty Crouch Jr. the
Yes,
legend.
that was amazing.
Okay, we got other plot holes for Voldemort because we are also 2 hours and 15 minutes in and not halfway through the doc yet.
I think we're halfway.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
are.
we're a little bit
there's
more
not-
than halfway.
We're
There's not too much now.
more than halfway.
Um,
And I think the top stuff is really the discussion
Yeah.
stuff.
Okay, great.
Anyway.
More Voldemort stuff.
So, Troy was a tournament. Insane. Also, Order of the Phoenix prophecy retrieval plan seems
Horrible.
Yeah, why would you? I mean, we see there's no one
None of it
in
makes
the ministry when Harry and his friends go in. Surely Voldemort could have just done
He
it
could
himself
just-
then.
Go.
Yes. That's
Right?
That's a huge plot point.
Yes.
He just, hey, Lucius, I'm going to take your hair. Here's some Apologies potion. I'm going to walk in. I'm going to demand that I'm going to see the Department of Mysteries and give them a lot of money. Or I'm just going to walk in as Lucius Malfoy or anybody else that works there that's an unspeakable.
Polyjuice as an unspeakable. Exactly. It's so
It's
easy.
And I'm going to walk in and I'm going to pluck it off the shelf. And conversely, the other plot hole is just like, you know, if you just told Harry there's a prophecy about you that Voldemort really wants to know, he's going to try and trick you to get in there. Don't do it. It's just like Dumbledore's one of his weakest things. Hey, don't do this thing that Voldemort wants you to do. Okay. We'll tell you more about it later. Okay.
Yeah, it's so easy. On both sides.
Yeah.
Like, it's so simple to just be like, Harry, Voldemort wants you to get this thing. We don't want him to... we don't want you to go and get it for him. He's gonna trick you, and we will discuss the content of it. But for now, you sit tight. We know what's happening. We know where it is. We know what he's after. We're on it. We're guarding it. We got it.
Also, like,
Voldemort was willing to risk him possessing Nagini the snake while in the Ministry,
yeah.
attacking Arthur, trying to get in there before he was like, can somebody just pluck a hair off of an unspeakable and then we'll just capture him for a week, modify his memory and send him back.
You can
Honestly,
literally
considering
go
how-
during the day if you're going to do that.
How little people Harry and his troop ran into during their nighttime stint.
Yeah,
Voldemort could have literally just walked in.
we just walked in. There are no cameras. That's not a Muggle security
Yeah.
system.
They walked.
Yeah,
They
exactly.
met no one the whole time there.
And, like, I'm sure Voldemort could wear a nose wig and an actual wig. Like, he could even go with a Muggle disguise. Just some sunglasses and a hat.
A nose wig? You mean a prosthetic?
Yes, that's the one.
No, it's called Nosewig now.
Like, he feels like Elijah Wood when
boy.
Elijah Wood was asked, will you wear wigs? And Elijah's like, no.
Yeah.
Yeah. Conversely, Dumbledore. We already have a column for
Yeah.
Dumbledore. Oh, do we have more?
I was gonna say, I think anyone who knows us and who knows Harry Potter knew a plot hole episode was gonna talk heavily about
Dumbledore? Yeah, for real.
Yeah.
Mm.
So the Potter Fidelius charm situation that then leads to the Sirius Black Azkaban disaster, as I've dubbed it. I mean, that is generally a lot of incompetence, like, from everyone
Yes.
displayed, most importantly the Ministry, but we're sort of used to that. I'm just surprised that Dumbledore is just like, yeah, all right. Like, there's no suspicion. Like, he's not, like, at all, like, looking into this.
And there's like two really big problems that come under this, I feel like. The first one is, we talk about, we have it later as well, but I think right here is fine. Why are Lily and James not their own secret
For real.
keeper? Come on.
Super easy.
Bill and Fleur are their own secret keepers. Yep. Hello. Not terribly complicated. They should have been their own secret keeper. You would have no whole switchy swappy whatever. You would have no relying on anybody else. No suspicion of anybody necessary. Done. Second, Dumbledore is after this happens, he decides to immediately fly in the face of James and Lily's wishes by not letting the person they have dubbed to raise Harry should they die take him. Sirius wasn't in Azkaban. Sirius was there.
Yeah, but Dumbledore...
Why couldn't Sirius have just taken... I know that that's his whole thing, but like, what, he has like 0.5 seconds to come up with this. Oh, okay, first of all, how does Dumbledore know that Lily died and sacrificed herself to create this love protection over Harry? Immediately to form a plan to then take Harry out same day and drop him at his aunt and uncle's house same day. There should have at least been a discovery period where all of this was found out, because Sirius was there, should have been able to take Harry with him as his rightful godfather, and then you would avoid the entire Sirius Black Azkaban disaster. If Harry is with Sirius, Sirius is not going to go out of his way to go have vengeance if he's got Harry at home.
So there's absolutely no way in this day, even before Dumbledore knows about Lily sacrifice Harry thing, there's no way that Dumbledore is going to allow Sirius to take him, because Dumbledore is still under the impression that Sirius was their secret keeper and was the one to betray them. So he's not going to let Sirius take him. That's one of the reasons why he sends Hagrid. And that's one of the reasons why he's like, hey, where'd you get this motorbike? And he's like, oh, Sirius Black gave it to me. And Dumbledore's like, okay. There's just no way that Dumbledore's going to do it, because he is convinced, like everybody else, that Sirius was the betrayer.
Fair enough. I guess only a few people knew that it was Sirius.
Yeah, and Dumbledore's one of them. And he gives evidence of that, which is the reason why Sirius doesn't get a trial.
True. Fine. Yep. It's still frustrating.
It's very frustrating. Though. Not so much a plot hole as just stupid. New category.
New.
I guess it is. I guess you can put it under Dumbledore. You can put it under the Dumbledore category.
It's under Dumbledore.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is the next thing is like the biggest of the Dumbledore.
Yeah, I mean that is
like it's like Dumbledore
its own
subtitle.
It's just like and it's its own rating scale measurement. It's just Dumbledore mostly seems to be serving the plot, because he just conveniently never gives Harry any answers. It's just like, no, cool. So another thing I found quite curious is the leaking the Seven Potters plan. It was actually really risky as a move, because it could have had very bad consequences. Also, the Seven Potters plan in general. Not sure why this was the best way to go about it, because couldn't you just not done multiple Harrys but no Harrys?
Well, and then they do a version of this plan for Secrets of Dumbledore, and it's still kind of the same plot holiness.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, and to immediately go to the most ostentatious method of transportation is wild.
Yeah.
I think I know though there's like a theory that, well, not a theory, but I know that they are like, oh well, Death Eaters are watching the house, so like why don't they just like two of them show up disguised as random muggles who are visiting the Dursleys.
Yeah.
And then Harry, disguised as one of those muggles, walks back out.
Yeah, for real.
And then the other person apparates away when Harry is far enough away that the trace isn't going to pick it up.
Yeah.
I'm just sitting here, like, blinking my eyes dramatically.
Plot hole. It's a plot hole. The Seven Potter plan is super risky. And it doesn't make as much sense as a well-thought-through plan.
It's not well thought through. I wish that they had done that more.
Well, and it's not like the Death Eaters are constantly trying to apparate in every given minute. So you could have just taken off the can't apparate in here and then apparated outside of one of their safe houses and then taken Harry there and then done your port key. Like, or they could have hooked it up to the flu network very quickly via, because the ministry still belongs to Rufus Scrimgeour at this point. You could have hooked it up to the flu network for 6 seconds, gotten him to a safe point, and it's not like they're actively just like standing in green flames going 4 pivot drive, 4 pivot drive, 4 pivot drive. Like, it's not like they're gonna instantly show up when you're doing that. So it's fine. It's all good.
Yeah.
And then lastly, and we touched upon Sirius already, but locking up Sirius in Grimmauld Place for a whole year when, they do have access to Polyjuice. So why did you do that?
Again.
Disguise him as somebody else. Don't make him resort to being a dog that other people can recognize. Like,
yeah.
Come on.
I don't understand it at all. And also, why didn't Snape just kidnap Snape for a whole year and Polyjuice Snape so he could go teach Harry and be very happy?
Yeah. Problems.
Cool.
Well, the next person that I have problems with
is Hermione. You and Patrick.
Is Hermione. Okay. First of all, in Deathly Hallows, there, the 2 Death Eater, the 2 or 3 Death Eaters follow them using the trace, and they find them in Muggle London at the cafe, and they fight them, and then Hermione's gonna modify their memories. She says, when staring at Dolohov, that she has never done this, and she only knows the theory, when not weeks ago she modified her parents' memories so well that they moved to Australia. No.
This is an actual, real plot hole. Not plot convenience, not Dumbledore, not stupid, not... It's like a legitimate plot hole that has been brought up that it canonically does not work together. I only know the theory.
Yes.
Wow, that was risky with your parents then?
Yeah. Either that or she just doesn't want to divulge what she's done. But doesn't she? She's already told them that she did this.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Crazy. The next thing is Hermione, who lives in the library and is the brightest witch of her age, etc., 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 can't find a bubblehead charm that 2 of the Triwizard champions managed to find and successfully use.
Did they just steal the book that it was in?
That's the only thing I can think of. But, like, I don't know.
Yeah.
It just seems implausible. It doesn't seem like a terribly complicated charm. Especially because the next year, when all the dung bombs are being set off all over the place, like most of the population's just regularly walking around with bubblehead charms. So it can't be that complicated. And so even if they didn't know about it until the second task, it can't be that terribly difficult to perform. So, it's not going to be in just one book. Yeah.
Yeah, I think this, to me, is the fallacy of Harry's not doing his job within the trio. Hermione, I think, instantly goes to stuff that's more obscure and difficult and complicated. That's kind of where she is in her powerhouse of looking up. Ron is not doing it fully. Half-assed is what I would call it. And Harry kind of is the person that fills in the role for simple but effective methods. That's Expelliarmus. That's a simple and effective method. And Harry's research skills are just terrible. So I would say that's why.
Yeah.
He grew up Muggle and yet can't make himself go to the library and look through the books. The most pedestrian part of magic.
Yeah, for real. Yeah. Anyways.
Yeah, those are my gripes with Hermione.
Speaking
My
of
next
sending
griping,
people off to an island.
Yes, my
Australia.
next griping is Azkaban. So everybody just goes there for everything. I don't know if this is a plot hole. It's just something that doesn't make sense.
Just a fundamental misunderstanding of the prison system.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah.
My best understanding of it in terms of Hagrid's sentence, but you'll go for a little bit, is that it's everyone.
Do you have
gets the same
Azkaban
amount of-
Solitary?
Yeah, no, they don't.
Well,
Um,
that's my next question.
They stay in a cell forever. I think it's just the amount of time that you go is the difference. So everyone gets the exact same treatment, but it's the amount of time you're there. So I put this joke in the doc where it says, so littering is like, you take a Skyrim type boat ride over, and then you spend 0.06 seconds in there before you're punted back to England. Like,
But also, like, once you're there, it seems like they're just locked in their cell. There's no, like, anything else. They just, like, are in the cell, and then they have meals, I'm assuming, and there's no, like, anything. Rehabilitation, recreation, nothing.
Yep.
So, like, okay. The whole thing is just a big flaw. Big problems.
Absolutely. And that's before we add the Dementors to the mix.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, exactly. That's just like it being a prison, period. And the only way to apparently punish people.
That's like pure crowd control most of the time. It's just like keep them docile and sad.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
But also, I think part of why there's no plan of rehabilitation is that for most of them, there is no plan to ever move them again.
Yeah.
You're just
True.
here for good.
Yeah.
Which is then why do we still have the wands for them if you don't expect them to re-enter society?
Yeah, exactly.
Why do they?
Yeah, if they're getting life sentences.
Yeah.
Ay.
Yes. And then we have our actual magic, which is crazy that we're getting to this part so late compared to all the rest. But there are some
We've
actual,
already
like,
talked about
the way the magic systems work.
Yeah.
Right.
We've got Gamp's Law.
Gamp's Law, yeah. So I think part of this is because it's introduced so late that everyone's like, what? What now? Okay. But it's more of like, it says it's impossible to conjure food out of thin air. Okay, fine. But you can summon it, you can transform it, and you can multiply it. So during the, the moment...
Extended camping trip.
Yeah, the short time camping. Why haven't, whenever they actually managed to find food, why haven't they multiplied it?
Yeah, that's a great question. Also, why didn't they go and scout out one grocery store, see where everything is in that grocery store, and then just constantly summon from it? I know that you would eventually have Death Eaters tracking, like, a pork tenderloin flying through England, but they could have done that.
Yeah. I'm sure also Molly wouldn't have minded them just summoning food from her house. Or she would have made, like, as she's making food for the wedding, they just, like, Hermione's on top of, like, everything else. So why isn't she, like, socking away little bits of food here and there, putting it in her bag, putting, like, some sort of, I'm sure they've got some sort of, like, stasis charm that they can use. Put it under some sort of stasis charm, and then as they need it, they take it out, they multiply it, and then you still have one.
And also, like, worst case, if you didn't take fresh food, you could have at least take some food.
A granola bar.
Yeah, that keeps for a while.
Twizzlers,
Right,
for sure. Just candy, straight up.
I mean, that's all they eat on the train anyway.
Yeah, for real.
So yeah, that one, I was like, I
also
sort of understand why she wants to put a restriction on it, because otherwise, why would, why honestly do anyone needs to have a job if you can just have food for free, basically? But, I just don't think it is actually working.
If a copy of a copy, there's a problem there where you just can't make a copy of a copy because it starts to lose its substance, etc.
Yeah.
That's why you keep the original.
Oh, yeah.
Now we're back to
you
the
have a
original
granola bar,
carrot.
you make a copy of it, you eat the copy. Then you have the granola bar, you make a copy, you eat the copy.
But then it's stale
You
after a while. I'm kidding. They should have obviously done that.
Yeah. Anyway. Similar vein, underage trace. I mean, we see multiple occasions where it's wrong. And it seems a very flawed system. And
It also seems like way too easy to exploit.
Yes.
Yeah.
Ew.
Super
Gross. Whose idea was that?
So why is it a
Slytherin.
thing?
Well,
Yeah.
and it's
Also,
interesting.
like, if
Go for it.
oh, well, I was just gonna say, I mean, especially because it's one instance where it really doesn't make sense. It's for underage magic. It should have gone off when Tom kills his father. They blame Gaunt for it, even though the trace is only for underage magic, meaning that in a Muggle town with only one wizard living nearby, that should never have gone off.
Yeah.
If it was that one wizard, and if it did go off, then that means that there was an underage wizard somewhere there, and there was therefore somebody else.
Yeah.
Questions
Also,
abound.
if an underage wizard is prepared to use magic, how are you going to find them? Because apparition, again, is a thing.
Right, exactly.
Maybe the underage trace doesn't exist until after Riddle kills everybody. That's the only thing I could have for that even potential part. But it's so weird because, like, you know, Rowling introduces the underage trace in Chamber of Secrets,
Fairly
and again, sort
early,
of like
yeah.
has to kind of fix it later. So Dumbledore has to have that whole thing about, like, yes, they know that magic has been done, but not the perpetrator. That's why they mistook you instead of Dobby. And then it's like, so anytime magic is done around underage, oh, and that's why Fred and George can just do tons of magic all the time because Molly's at home. So, like, it just gets really stupid really quickly. Like, as soon as you have magical families, they can still do it. And that's why Ilvermorny, I think, keeps everybody's wand over the summer.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, because then I was also
interesting, wasn't it?
thinking. Well, then I was also thinking, like, apparition must not count because Mundungus apparates right next
and so
to
does Dobby.
like
Yeah.
Harry, and like Harry hears it.
Yeah.
But then the only thing that he's flagged for is the Patronus.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Dobby obviously popping in and out too.
Right.
But and somehow elf magic registers, but no, whatever.
Yeah.
It's just
Elf
it's
magic
wild.
registers, but as a person, but then elf magic works differently than people. It's a
Yeah.
hot mess.
It is a hot
definitely
mess.
a hot mess.
Yeah.
The next one I have added on the list is Veritaserum, and why it's not used for, like, at least some of the processes that they have for trials at the ministry.
Okay, there's an answer to that, and it's came in an interview, as per most of these sort of, like,
Half
looked
answers.
back on half answers. Essentially, Rowling writes in one of the supplemental materials that came out that Veritaserum is banned in trials or anything that you can take legal precedence on because it can be defeated by occlumency.
Which that does make sense because, like, we have lie detector tests, but they're not admissible. in court.
Yeah. Which I think it makes sense. It's just
okay.
like, it's not in text, right? It's just annoying
Yeah.
to have that said. It's so easy to have been like, oh, well, are they going to make me take Veritaserum at this trial? And then for Mrs. Weasley to be like, no, Harry, that's, or Arthur to say it, or whoever. No, that won't be because it's banned because occlumency can break it. And then we hear about occlumency before we actually get to occlumency.
Yeah.
Yeah, but not enough before that it seems weird.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I'll allow that.
Allow it.
That spell has all, and I probably can't really explain what I mean, but I'm hoping you understand what I mean. It's always felt weirdly overpowered because, you know, we introduced it very early on, and they can just walk into most places with it.
Yeah. Doesn't Colloportus defeat Alohomora in Book 5? Aren't they going around locking it magically so that they can't use Alohomora? And so it's
I
just
can't
on
remember.
normal locks? I feel like commenters, go and look that up on Department of Mysteries. It's when they're in the brain room with Hermione and Luna, and then Luna gets completely blasted apart by Dolohov for a second there when the door
I think you're right.
opens up. So it seems like they have...
In which case,
Why was
the third floor corridor
Yeah.
was
Oh, right,
not
yeah.
protected
Why is
by
it-
Colloportus. It's
because
just a regular
Filch
lock.
is the one who feeds Fluffy.
Yeah, okay. But I just genuinely felt like they got into many sort of protected, forbidden sort of places way too easily by just being like, we know the
Yes.
locking job.
Yeah, for real.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then you have what to me is the biggest plot hole in all of Harry Potter.
See, that is the one that I can maybe half. Well, I'll give you a quarter of an explanation for it, okay? So, Felix Felicis, we're introduced to it. It's obviously super difficult to make and is very rare, and, you know, not many people have ever had the chance of taking it. Knowing that, one of the two sides fighting against each other has Snape, who surely can brew it. The other side has Horace Slughorn, who we have seen brew it. So why are not both sides, you know, just brewing as much Felix Felicis as they can, knowing a war is coming up and it might be useful to have some?
Somebody else should go before. You guys should all get your voices in before I rant.
Yes. So, okay. The only thing that I have is that the only little bottle that we know about in existence currently that Harry has, he gives to his friends. And Battle of Hogwarts was a surprise. I don't know that anybody was specifically planning on it occurring, period, if it were at that time. And I have to imagine it's probably very difficult to make, and with both
Hermione
Slughorn
says,
and Snape at the school, who would, I mean, that we know of are like two of the only potioneers who would be able to make it. I also don't think that potions are necessarily a magic system that most wizards lean on. That's the only other thing that I can think of.
It's like most people can't cook.
Exactly.
Where it's like, but it's like, you know, so many things that's like, oh, well, there must be a potion for that. But I feel like most people are so reliant on their wands and wand magic that like potions are underrated. And most people aren't going to think about it. That's the only thing I can think of.
So
you may,
and it seems like it seems like it's a really specific skill too. That like,
yeah.
it's not just like following a recipe. Like it's having the like right. Being in the right
Timing.
Emotional headspace and the climate of the room. And like there's so much that is like a variable when it comes to potion making that it's probably, there's probably even some degree of like discouraging people who are not experts from trying to get a potion book out and like seeing what happens.
Yeah. So to me, in terms of like, there's a lot here. I have a rant about like what Felix Felicis means for the whole world, but I'm going to hold off on that for a second just to answer this specific question. I think when Hermione says it's like incredibly difficult, when they have this idea of like, why don't we just make Felix Felicis? She never says exactly what it is that's difficult about it. It may be that they can't even make it while they're on the move. It might have to stay, like, when we learn about the process of what it takes to become an animagus.
Like, stability of it.
Yeah, the stability of it, right? And so when we learn about the process to become an animagus, it's really complicated. You have to hold a leaf in your mouth for a month, right? You have to get dew that hasn't been touched by the sun. So it might be something like that. In the real world, like, you can't just grow, wasabi anywhere in the world. It's a very select few places, right? And so it might be that Felix Felicis can only be created under these specific circumstances that people don't have, right? Now, obviously,
I wonder with like the circumstances too, like whether or not you have to be able to add a measure of like authentic organic luck, right? That like isn't synthetic. Like you may have to actually capture a moment of luck. Yeah.
So,
and then it's magnified as you produce the synthetic.
Right, and Harry, Ron, and Hermione are certainly not in the best of luck at the time.
Not fortunate people.
And like nobody really is, right? Voldemort doesn't have any luck at the time. He can't get Harry. Everybody else is under an oppressive regime, etc. So that all being said, there might be multiple reasons in terms of how the potion is actually created, but we don't get to see how the potion is created. In terms of Felix Felicis is a giant plot hole in the same way that time turners are a giant plot hole. Now, with time turners, Rowling makes the firm stamp that time actually doesn't change. The ability to go back in time happens, but it's all on one cycle, right? It isn't parallel plots. Harry was there as his dad every single time. Okay, so time travel's weird, but it's she makes some sort of statement about it. But for there to be a potion that captures the essence of luck and essentially creates fate and guides Harry along a line of fate is just really messes with my understanding of how this world works. And the prophecies do that just a little bit, but there's more explanation around, like, some, half the prophecies never get created. But if there is a real thing like luck, and that you can access it magically and have somebody guided by this exterior force that isn't God or nature, but is like this ethereal plane between the two, it creates all of these huge questions about, like, what is happening? Is Voldemort always doomed to fail? That sort of thing. And I love the Felix Felicis chapter and everything. It's a lot of fun. But in terms of what it does for the world, it like really messes with the Harry Potter universe to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree.
Agreed.
Cool.
Yeah, it's a complicating factor that is an issue for sure. Especially in a plot all about choosing your own destiny.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But it's surprising that, she introduced time travel, then conveniently got rid of all the time turners because she's like, ooh, this is messy and it's creating me problems. And then a book later, she's like, luck is now a thing.
Unless indeed. Good God. I mean, Irvin made this point way back in the day when we were on Alohomora. We were talking about magic systems, and Irvin's like, yeah, I think Joe, as he says, wrote a bunch of novels for the first half, and then the second half of the series is all her writing in a bunch of rules to establish some stuff.
Yeah, he's not wrong.
He's not wrong indeed.
Yeah.
All right, let's finish up on the last one.
Coming to the end on, as I've just mentioned, time travel.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, because apparently scheduling classes is too difficult. We were introduced to time travel, because that is a good reason, isn't it? And then, as I've just mentioned, she very quickly got rid of all the time turners because it was a risk to have it. So I believe you have another rant for us prepared, Sam?
Less so than the Felix Felicis one. Rowling even admits it in one of the supplemental materials she writes about, or on Pottermore or something. She wrote about how she was too, like, laissez-faire about her approach, too nonchalant about her approach into time travel in general. And so it really... It's just...
speaking of hubris.
Yeah, speaking of hubris, indeed. Prisoner of Azkaban does it so well. And then Cursed Child is sort of the opposite of that, doing it well. Where... And I just, like... I was talking to my wife about this last night, actually. If you're going to do time travel, the entire thing needs to be about time travel. Back to the Future, awesome time travel movie. But I feel very passionate about it needing to be...
Time travel is not a feature. Correct,
not a feature. That is precisely it, Liz. Time travel is not a feature. It's the thing itself. And so when you introduce it as a feature... Yeah. When Marvel does it, and then they completely screw around, and now it's becoming the feature. Rick and Morty, it's the feature. Not a feature, but the thing that you're focusing on. It's the plot. Then it's fine. But because we do this time travel, I mean, it's why How It Should Have Ended immediately made fun of that. They have Severus Snape go and grab a time turner and turn it back 8 million times in order to go where Dumbledore's sitting with Tom with the burning cabinet and just Avada Kedavra, this 11-year-old kid. Like, it just creates so many different opportunities for error. And then when you introduce time travel, that's what Violent Conflict is going to be about, basically, for the rest of that entire universe, in my opinion. Everything becomes about how do we access time and go and change things. So, I wish that we had the one time turner and it was destroyed, and then we were all just complaining about why did Hermione get this, and nothing else.
Yeah, agreed.
Or just let Hermione have a course load where she, like, takes Muggle studies at a 5th year level and then none of this happens. Have her go straight into Newt courses.
That would be so funny.
Yeah. Anyways, that's the end of it. We've reached the end.
Woohoo! Okay, I have a 7 ingredients. You just gotta let me count. It's gonna be a joke, but it's gonna be great. So
That's
hold
great.
on, give me a second.
That's fine. While you're counting, I'm going to introduce it.
I'm
Sierra
severely
Obermark.
disappointed now if it's not great.
It's got to be really
Oh,
funny.
I think it's gonna be good.
Okay.
All right, and for today's 7 ingredients of today's special, I said today twice, we have the different categories that we have now sorted all of our potential plot holes into.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
We have, number 1, plot holes, real ones. Number 2, plot conveniences. Then we have Dumbledore, magic, stupidity, and can't math. And if you're going Sierra, that's only 6. C number 6.
Can't math.
J.K. Rowling wrote this list.
Yeah, for real.
We're not gonna count that as plot holes, but
But shush.
well, thank you so much, Liz, for joining us here at the Three Broomsticks. Woo, woo, woo.
Once more, you came and you did great. Well done.
It was so nice to have you. Is there anything that you want to plug anywhere for people to find anything you're interested in? Anything like that you want to share with the group?
I teach, so my socials are all locked down.
Everything's
But
private.
thank you for having me back.
Nice.
Yes.
Woohoo!
Hope
Yes,
to join you
excellent.
again soon.
Yes.
Thank you for
we'd love
joining
to
us
have
at
you
the
again.
pub.
Pub loves you. You love the pub. It's great.
It's true.
On to Patreon. A huge thanks again to Aurelia.
Caroline Oberländer.
Thank you. Who bought us this round of drinks at the Three Broomsticks. If you'd like to buy us the next round, head over to patreon.com/threebroomsticks. That's with the numeral 3 to sign up. You can also help by rating and reviewing us. And if you like our show, don't forget to tell your friends or give us a little bit of money over at Patreon. Word of mouth and money helps us hugely. And we always love to see really the word of mouth, but occasionally the money. Thank you all for listening. We really enjoyed you.
And if you want to tell us things you want to hear about on the podcast in the future, tell us anything that we got wrong, anything that we got missed, you can either engage with us on social media and or send us an email or go to our website. The email address and social media handles are all in this episode description, so you can easily find them there. And our website is 3broomstickspod.com with the 3 spelled out as a word. And there you can also usually find any links that we mention, and you can submit a topic. Let us know what you want to hear in the future. And the next
Just
time,
like Adam James did.
yes, exactly. And we clearly are getting back to you at some point. Next time we meet at the Three Broomsticks, we'll be discussing a crossover episode, which we'd love to do, on the Cormorant Strike series. Believability of deaths is going to be the topic. I've been Oreo.
I am Sam.
And I will be Sierra. Thank you so much for listening, and we will see you next time in the Three Broomsticks. Cheers!
Woo! Give me big old buckets of butterbeer.
Give me big old buckets of butterbeer. Give me big old barrels of butterbeer. Give me the drink I love so dear. And another round for my friend right here of the sweet old butterbeer.
This episode of The Three Broomsticks was edited by Brittany Fisher. The theme song was written and performed by the Faithful Sidekicks. Make sure to check them out at thefaithfulsidekicks.com.
I'm Sam Williams.
And I'm Sierra Obermark.
And her address is 455 Montview Railway in Montana, California, USA.
Montana, California.
Okay. I'm going to restart it from Sam Williams. Sorry, I had to do that joke.
Sorry, Brittany. Goodness.
Brittany, we were doing a joke about how I put Sierra's too much on blast her first episode before we started recording. Anyways, Sierra, it's all you.
Yes. Sorry, I'm messing with my. I feel like my gain is like picking up it's like picking up ants crawling outside. I don't really know. So I'm just trying to mess with it a little bit so that it can stop picking up literally everything.
I mean, that's
and
cool.
I think somehow I did it backwards.
I would love to have ant audio on here.
Ant audio. Actually, okay, sorry, not to sidetrack so early, but I just read a thing that's like apparently some people like can smell like
ants?
the ant
Yes.
pheromones. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, some people can like smell ant pheromones, and so it was like this
Ew.
story about how this girl's boyfriend like tracked down one ant in their bathroom.
Wow.
And I was like, that's so weird. But then it led into somebody being like, I have a theory that everybody actually has a superpower, but most of them are so lame or like would never be
Mundane.
used that nobody knows.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that sounds right.
Most places with it.
Yeah, it seems like Coloportus.
Yeah, cat, I agree.
I was like,
so
also, I
sorry.
agree with the cat.
Doesn't
This is the loudest cat in the history of the world.
There may be, I have to use my keyboard so we make it cranky baby for a second here, so hold on.
Click, clack, click, clack, click, clack, click. 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 Click, clack, click, clack, click, clack, click, clack.
Sir?
Click, click,
Is
clack.
Brittany not already angry enough?
Sorry, Brittany. Dear God.
What were the other categories we had? We had plot hole, plot convenience, Dumbledore, magic, stupidity. That was it. And
Sheer dumb luck just for the fun of it.
but was that actually one that we
No.
have said? Over
No,
the
I think
course of this?
that's the only 5 that we ever said.
That's
Oh,
okay. That's perfect.
Can't
That's
math. Can't math would be one.
fine. Oh,
And that would be a
Yeah.
funny
no.
one.
Okay, yeah.
Jake, you're
And that
No,
would be
sorry.
a funny one to end on,
Stop
'cause
it.
then you
Stop
can-
talking, Sam. Stop talking.
That's
Okay.
6.
Hubris?
That's
I know.
hubris.
No, it's fine. Nope.
I see what
Nope.
you're doing. I see. You don't want me to spoil
I
your
see
joke.
it. I see it.
Sierra's like, let me cook. Come on.
All right. Are we back to recording?
Yes.
Yeah, back
Yes,
to actually
okay.
recording.
Let us raise a toast to the comments on episode 56. That was the episode on... that's actually not correct, it says in here. Sorry. I don't think it was the episode on the HBO stuff. Yeah. Okay. Sorry, Brittany. I'm giving a lot of work this time around.
What's the... I was just looking up the thing for it. When he first sees it, it says... hold on, y'all. I just had it. I'm so sorry. Brittany, don't hate me. Okay, here it is. Pause. On the podcast, pause. On the podcast, pause. On the podcast. This is going to be a more difficult episode for Brittany. Sorry, Brittany. It's okay. It's not your fault. 'Tis audacities. A huge thanks again to Aurelia.
Oh. I was like, why are you thanking me?